Hello and welcome to the Oxygenaddict Triathlon Podcast. We're brought to you every week by our sponsors, PrecisionHydration.com.
Precision Hydration offer electrolyte drinks in different strengths to match how you sweat. Personalize your hydration strategy today at precisionhydration.com and get a free box or tube of pH worth up to $9.99 using the code Oxygenaddict.
We're also brought to you by foodsell.co.uk.
The next generation of top tube nutritional carriers for your bike, designed to allow endurance triathletes and cyclists to carry enough food and gels while allowing easy access. Check it out at foodsell.co.uk.
All right, everybody, welcome to the 2019 Ironman World Championship Super Duper 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 Special. We have got some exciting stuff on the show today for you. We've been busy little beavers in the background, haven't we, Hells?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We have got for you an interview with male pro Joe Skipper on his fantastic 6th place finish. We've also got a whole bunch of interviews from age groupers, Lewis Eccleston, Tom Rigby, Dan McParland and Mel Hayes. So we managed to get interviews with them, with the age groupers pre-race, and then we also managed to get interviews with them post-race. So we've got like a kind of see how you felt before the race, see how exciting it is to swim with dolphins, see how you felt after the race, after all the pain and suffering over. And I've got to say, Hells, the thread running through all of those post-race interviews was entirely, well, I'm rather glad that was over and done with.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. There's a lot of people had fantastic days out, but I think they're glad that the hard work and the racing was done and finished and they could have a little sit down. And I think it sounds like it was an extremely tough day out there. The weather conditions were back to how they were normally. Yeah. Yep. After a very relaxed year last year in terms of crazy winds, it was back in force today. And the one common thread that ran through all of this was the wind just did not seem to know what direction it was coming from. It would be a tailwind 1 minute and then a block headwind the next second. Very interesting how the wind plays a massive part in all of that.
Oh yeah, and Mel was saying she was, a little bit further back in the race, and she said that some women around her were actually getting off their bikes at Harvey and walking down because the winds were that strong.
Yeah, I can totally believe that.
Yeah.
Cool stuff. Well, we're gonna talk through the results and how the show and how the whole race played out and all of that stuff. But first up, we're going to do shout out to sponsors Precision Hydration. It's got to be the best week of the year, Hells, I reckon, to be Precision Hydration and have like all of the athletes using your product. Here we are. This is the problem that we were set up to solve. Racing in heat and humidity. Everyone's out there doing it. I think it just must be a brilliant feeling to know that they've helped out so many people have superb races.
Yeah.
I was going through they've got a blog up that lists the number of athletes that were using their product. And how's this for a list of people that they've helped? So Sarah Crowley, 3rd pro, Carrie Lester, 8th pro, Ruth Purbrook, overall age group world champion,
amazing.
Kat Renouf, 3rd in category, Lewis Eccleston, 3rd in category, Neil Eddy, 2nd male, 30 and 8th age group overall. I mean, it's just fantastic.
Yeah, that is some incredible results.
Certainly is. So guys, get over to precisionhydration.com. Even if you're not racing in the heat or the humidity, if you're training indoors on the turbo or the watt bike or on the treadmill this winter, keep on top of your electrolyte intake. You can take their online sweat test. You can get £9.99 worth of free product if you haven't already tried their product, and just take care of your electrolytes so you don't end up in that situation where you end up with hideous cramps in the pool because you didn't replace your electrolytes when you were training on the bike or the run. Right, let's go to the race, Hells. I was pinned to it this year. I don't know about you. I sat there, I had my dinner on my knee. I had my little lad sitting next to me. He was possibly watching more of the YouTube video game stuff that was going on the main telly than he was watching the race with me. But there was times when he was going, they're still racing. Yeah. And there's like this interesting gradual shift between totally focused on the telly to they're still racing, Daddy. Like 2 hours, 3 hours, 5. The next morning he came in, as he does at 6:30, and jumped on my head and said, "Who won Kona?" And I was like, "That's awesome." There's like it's in his head. He was wondering who's going to win. Did Lucy win?
Oh, and that's a bit like a lot of people probably similar experiences on Trans World Sport when they were younger watching it.
exactly that. That's exactly what I was thinking. I remember watching it in what must have been, it was Mark and Dave year, it was 89.
Yeah.
And watching
Late
it
80s,
with
early
like,
90s.
what did we used to have for breakfast? Rice Krispies in front of the telly first thing on a, was it Saturday or Sunday morning? Dead early.
Oh, it was Saturday. I'm sure.
I remember thinking, why have those bikes got such ridiculous handlebars on them? Why do they look like that? I really clearly remember having this thought of 8 hours later.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to be joking.
Yeah.
So who knows, maybe it plays a little part in your psyche that something amazing strikes you. Like later on that day, we went to the gym and my son said to me, how far was the swim at Ironman? I told him and he was like, how many lengths is that? And then he was like, oh, well, can I do 2 then? And see if it's like...
See if it's almost
it's
that.
interesting the effect. Yeah, exactly. The influence it has on people, that they get inspired by watching something amazing going on.
Yeah, well, I was listening to a pre-race interview with Kaiser Sally, who she finished 6th, didn't she? And she was saying that when she was 12, she wanted to ride 180 kilometers. And she pestered her dad because she had seen and she wanted to know, well, can I do that? And she went and rode with her dad 180k.
When she was 12?
When she was 12, yeah.
That's pretty hardcore.
Yeah, I think they rode to her grandparents or something. But then it clearly planted that seed, didn't it?
Yeah, doesn't it just? Nice work, Kaiser. Right, let's talk through the female race first.
Yeah, what a race.
Well, yeah, it was amazing, wasn't it? So first up, we had Lucy Charles-Barclay led the swim out. Lauren Brandon sat on the feet. Didn't look like she could have come round if she'd wanted to. It looks like she was completely on the rivet, hanging on there. And then in transition, did you see this happen? Completely missed a bag.
Yeah, which then meant that she was not riding out with Lucy, so then she was riding on her own. And Lucy was out in front.
Game over, wasn't it?
And then they couldn't
it was game
work
over
at all together because obviously she wasn't there. So, how frustrating.
I think it's a lesson to any age group, isn't it? If it can happen at the very front of a race when you're under stress to someone like Lauren Brandon, it can happen to all of us. She just got mixed up and thought her bag was at the far end of the racks rather than the near end. But that 30 seconds or 40 seconds it cost her, Lucy was up and gone.
Yep.
And that was pretty much the last we saw of her on the coverage, wasn't it?
Yeah. Of Lauren. They did keep on.
Pretty much.
No, honestly, the first bit, I mean, it was pretty much sort of her. After that, she went backwards. But to begin with, they showed loads of her. I think because she was on a Venton bike, and it was sponsored by Venton.
Well have been
honestly,
interesting.
They just showed loads and loads and loads of, and you didn't see what was happening further back. And that's when you're like, oh, come on, show us a bit more.
Yeah. Overall, I thought the coverage was pretty good, though. I like the fact the split screen the whole way through.
Yeah.
That was a really nice touch. So no complaints. I don't remember whether they did that last year or not, but it was really good this year anyway, regardless. You could view both races at once.
Yes, it did. It did feel like there was more.
Like there was coverage. 2 races going on at once.
Yeah, and
especially
towards the end, I was sort of drifting off asleep, but I was still listening to it, if that makes sense. And and I was thinking previously, they just didn't. It's almost like they didn't go back to the women's race once the men had finished, whereas this year they really did, because clearly stuff was happening. And it was exciting.
How far did you get through it?
I didn't quite hear who had won. I think I probably got to about mile 21 or 22 for Lucy.
Me too. Yeah,
and then
early hours, time to go to bed.
So I heard that Anne Haug had passed Lucy. I definitely heard that.
Oh, you got a little bit further than me.
And then I was like, oh my goodness, whoa.
Yeah, time for bed.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk through the results then. So we basically had Lucy out, absolutely steamed it on the bike, didn't she? Fair play to her. An amazing bike split all the way out on her own. Big chase pack riding probably pretty consistently, 6-7 minutes behind her. Just Haug, Crowley, Simmons, Lester, Blamel. Big, powerful group. And again, we didn't get to see a lot of them, unfortunately.
No,
but
that was
looked like it stayed. Yeah. Looked like it stayed pretty consistent. And my first thoughts were, Lucy's in trouble. The minute Anne Haug started running, I thought Lucy looked really good, but Anne Haug looked awesome. Even getting off a bike, she put something like, I don't know, 100 meters into the other girls in the group, just running through transition before they even got to the tents. Wow. She looked like she was in a different sport. It was incredible.
Yeah. She's such a beautiful runner.
It was reminiscent of Rinny in a day, wasn't it? So she ticked through in I've not got the results for me. Was it a 2:51 marathon?
Yes, 2:51.
On the top of my head.
2:51 marathon. Yeah, that's right. So, Rob, only 7 men ran faster than Anne Haug.
I'm not surprised. She looked like she was one of the only runners out there who looked like she was running really quickly. She just looked really beautiful and fluid. Even Jan leading the men's race, I didn't think looked as good as Anne Haug did.
It was sort of, it was almost like perfection running, wasn't it?
It was a masterclass, yeah, and hats off to her. And nobody picked her for the win, that's the thing. It was...
No.
We all got caught up, didn't we, in the
Daniela Ryf.
In the Daniela Ryf, no one's going to be able to touch her, and it just goes to show that anything can happen on Kona race day. So did you see rumours that she said afterwards that she'd felt sick?
Daniela Ryf? No.
She posted afterwards on Twitter that she'd been feeling sick the day before and she'd felt like she was coming down with something.
Okay.
And she kind of, she gave it her all, but she felt really rotten.
Yeah.
It's just a shame, isn't it? She was so dominant at the 70.3 Worlds 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And she just looked not her.
Yeah.
She just looked average, didn't she?
Yeah, and the commentator saying, on the bike and things, she just wasn't sort of putting the normal power down that she'd be having. But Rob, I think to be able to kind of stick with it and dig in and, not quit when you're clearly not.
Yeah, totally.
It's just,
it's good she got to the finish. That's good, isn't it? Where did she finish? Do you know off the top of your head?
Wasn't it 11th?
Did she finish 11th? Let's have a look.
But she said on Instagram, she said, Kona never disappoints. A very tough
13th.
Day for me after feeling flat and nauseous due to a stomach bug, which I caught a few days ago. Giving up was never going to be an option, so I dug deep and gave it everything I had. I'm disappointed, but every long-distance athlete has to experience one of these humbling races where the day feels very long. The pain was real.
Fair play to her. She toughed it out, didn't she?
Yeah.
And if she'd done a 3-hour run, she'd have finished in 4th or 5th.
Yeah.
So it's not like she had a terrible day. She just
wasn't on the magical day that she can normally put out.
I'll tell you who did super impress me was Lucy Charles-Barclay after getting taken first and then getting taken for second. Yeah. Sarah Crowley came through and I thought Lucy looked pretty decent at that point still. It wasn't like she was blowing up. She was still going well, but Sarah Crowley was charging. And it takes massive reserve to come back at somebody from that point, doesn't it?
Yes, and that, I think, is the sort of true, almost like true force of a... She is going to win it one day.
Yeah, no question.
Yeah, she is definitely going to win it one day. And when her day comes, it's going to be sweet as...
Sarah Crowley there, as we mentioned earlier on, in 3rd. I noticed there was a sweet little advert for Precision Hydration when they zoomed in on her on the bike. And she had the pH bottle there on the down tube. And they kind of zoomed in on her bottom bracket and her legs. And I was like, the boys at pH must be loving this.
What a performance from her, though, as well. She said, totally cooked from a battle with Lucy Charles on the Queen K. Still smiling. So, yeah, she is grinning from ear to ear at the finish line.
Yeah, and it's another one of those where the numbers don't tell the real story, doesn't it? She ran 2:59, but she must have been running 2:55 pace because when Lucy Charles-Barclay passed her back again with a few miles to go, she looked like she was really going backwards, and she must have lost a lot of time in that last few miles, mustn't she?
Yeah. It was just so, honestly, Rob, it was just so exciting, and so many amazing people sort of like running through as well. Like we've mentioned, Heather Jackson, I think, had a brilliant day all round. She was 5th. Kaiser Sally, she ran her way up to 6th. Corinne Abraham, amazing.
Great run for her.
She did 2:59. and she ran through the field to finish 7th. So some absolutely brilliant performances. And then if you watch the coverage, you might have seen quite a bit of Daniela Blamel, who was riding really hard, and she finished 9th in the end with a 3:19 run. And Carrie Lester was there, wasn't she, all day long, and she finished in 8th.
Yeah, good day for Canyon on the bike.
Yeah.
They had, considering they're not official bike sponsor, there was a lot of Canyon being shown on the coverage there. And it makes me think maybe the best way to be the official bike sponsor of Ironman is to just give bikes to all the top pros.
Probably.
Get your bikes under the top guys and women.
And
shouldn't say girls.
And we'll, be up there. I didn't mention Laura Phillip. Now, she was my dark horse.
She was your dark horse, yeah. So how did that play out for her?
So she finished in 4th. So she and Daniela Blamer were riding really well together for a lot of it. And she finished with a 3:02, and that was her first Kona, only her second Ironman. She qualified at Barcelona last year. And I think, again, she's going to be on the podium.
My dark horse was Susie Cheetham. Susie came in, let's have a look, in 19th place. And she's going well off the bike, 5 hours flat off the bike, and she ran really well for sort of the first 6 or 8 miles. She was holding sort of 3-hour marathon pace right the way through to the half marathon point. So nice work, Susie. Next year, she's due a good one.
Yeah.
She's due a good one. Right. Over onto the men's race then. What a performance from Jan Frodeno. Helen, are we looking at the greatest triathlete of all time after this performance? Thoughts?
Right. Yes, in terms of Olympic and Ironman, I mean, it was just it was just such a complete performance, wasn't it?
Incredible, yeah.
Whether he is
absolutely
the
incredible
best triathlete of all time, I don't know. No, that would need a greater debate. I mean, is this one of the best performances in Kona? Absolutely.
Yeah, no question. For me, I'm gonna say it. For me, that puts him there. Is that 3 wins for him now?
Yeah.
It's the 3rd time he's won this, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Olympic champion, 3rd win at Kona. I just can't get over 7:51 on a windy day.
It's speechless there, Rob.
The context is having watched Luke Van Leerd go 8:04 back in the day and thinking that was the most incredible run that you've ever seen, with him charging down at the end. And he would be 12, 13 minutes back from this performance on a day that's considered to be like the classic windy Kona day. Yeah. So Jan swam 47:30, biked 4:16, and closed it with a 2:42 run. Yeah. It's just an utter performance where the only weakness you can say is in his practice trying to get bottles off the aid station volunteers when he's running at 45k an hour.
Definitely.
How he managed to even stay hydrated after missing so many bottles, I don't know, but it's the only small criticism you can find of the guy. It's just absolutely incredible.
He was pretty faultless, wasn't it? And the bit that was so amazing to watch was just the way towards the very end of the bike he rode off.
Yeah, 15 miles to go. Well, let's go back to the start of the swim first and then talk it through first. So we had a bunch of 8 or 9 getting out of the water in front.
Yep.
So Amberger pulled away, Ali Brownlee there, Frodo there. Most interesting result of the early thing is Patrick Langer makes the cut. That swim has improved massively, and whether people like him or not, like, hats off to him. Everyone was expecting him to be 3 or 4 minutes down out of the water. And you've got to imagine that the lead pack were looking around and going, where's he come from? Because he wasn't there at Nice, was he? He wasn't there out of the water with him at Nice. An incredible swim from him.
And suddenly you're thinking, oh boy, this is going to be really cool.
Yeah, because you're thinking all he has to do is sit in with the train and get pulled along for the whole time and then run away from everybody. Yep. But fate had other ideas. So first up, did you notice? I saw this a photograph on Twitter or Instagram. Ali Brownlee fell over in T1. He slipped over and hit the deck really hard before he'd even picked up his bag. So nasty little trip for him.
Didn't see that.
out onto the bike, as you'd expect, group of 8 riding along. All of a sudden, that group of 8's whittled down and Patrick Lang is nowhere to be seen.
Yeah.
So he went full Norman, didn't he? He had a proper meltdown, bless him.
Did you see? It was just so strange though. So you wonder, like, did he know that someone was going to be there and then he could pull it? Because he was going really pretty quickly, and then it was like he saw the coach, the manager, whoever was
handler,
there,
whoever it was,
and then off.
I think it's the only point on the bike course where
they can get to,
like, two roads join, and he just knew it wasn't on. He'd been dropped ages ago by that point, hadn't he? And obviously reports afterwards said he'd been sick in the run up to it, and he just obviously, it's going to absolutely do your head in if you're that standard of athlete and you get dropped by the boys in the first 10 miles. So that's him gone. That's everybody, every single person who made a prediction for our Kona thread. Done. Game over. Predict the winner. Everyone's done pretty much. A few minutes later, David McNamee's gone as well. Everyone else is done.
Yeah, that was me.
Kona prediction thread.
Yeah.
And bless him. Again, another one said sickness in the run up to the race, so he's gone as well. So then Ali Brownlee flats after Harvey, and we didn't really get to find this out till after the event, because I was watching on the coverage and it looked like he'd gone for a little while, and then he was back again, and you were like, right, okay.
Yeah.
Who would have thought you could ride back to the group riding at that pace on the descent back down from Harvey?
Yeah, again, it just shows he is a phenomenal athlete, doesn't it?
He must have burnt some matches on the bike on the way down, because I think at this point I remember reading Anne Berger had been dropped, and he said in his little race report Brownlee came by him.
Yeah.
And when he saw Brownlee had flattered, he thought, great, I've got some company. And he said he went by me like he was launched out of a rocket. And he was back off to join back up again. So it was then down to 3 at the front, wasn't it? Brownlee, O'Donnell, and Janfrodino. Yep. Looked like O'Donnell was doing a lot of the work at the front.
He was doing so much work, didn't he?
He looked, fair play to him, really good on the bike, super relaxed, tapping out the tempo. And then he kind of turned around and said to them, come on, boys, come through and do some work. Yeah. And at that point, Jan just rode away.
Yeah, it's like he came to the front and then
look like he attacked. Yeah, exactly. 15 miles to go. And to put a minute into into Tim O'Donnell over the next 10 miles it's incredibly good riding, isn't it?
He just looks so efficient on the bike, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And as you say, Tim O'Donnell was riding superbly.
I wonder whether those two faded, because obviously Ali Brownlee, he looked like he pretty much popped then. Tim O'Donnell rode away from him, and he got swallowed up by the chase group with not far to go, and he actually ended up coming into transition with the group.
Yeah, with a bigger group. And I mean, the beginning of when they came out of the swim, and you had like Ali Brownlee and Janfrodino at the front a little bit, and Maurice Clavel was there as well. But with those two at the front, you're thinking, oh wow, this is going to be a show today, isn't it?
Well, yeah, exactly. I think everyone was expecting the 3 of them to ride into transition together, and for Jan to drop the hammer like that with 15 miles to go. I mean, we don't know, do we? It might have been a case that the other 2 blew up and Jan just kept on riding at the same power, but
don't know.
It was an impressive piece of pacing by him, regardless. And then it was pretty much all over. He just kept on running 2:42 pace the whole way.
As you do.
That's it. Take the miles out. Never looked like he was in trouble. Got to give him kudos for the old aid station grab at the top of the energy lab, where, having missed bottles all day, he managed to get himself what looked like a 5-litre bottle of water from one of the volunteers' aid station tables, and poured the whole thing over himself as he was running. It was like a university beer chug. It was just outstanding.
He knows how to keep himself cool, doesn't he?
He did a good job.
He definitely knows how to keep himself cool. So yeah, he did a 2:42 to take the win, as you say, in 7:51, break the course record, and just unbelievable stuff. Tim O'Donnell ran a 2:49 and
held it together brilliantly, didn't he?
What a race for him.
He didn't look great off the bike. He was running, and I expected him to disappear. I know he'd had some problems in the run up to it, and from his tweets, he didn't sound confident. He just sounded happy to be there.
Yeah,
kind
because
of
he'd had a
thing.
foot injury and he wasn't quite sure where his running was at, but had spent a load of time biking.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And I think he got to about the 10K point, and then his form looked like it came round again. And again, he didn't really fade. He kept on ticking those miles over, and hats off to him. It's a great performance to get second.
oh yeah, he said he's over the moon with second, and breaking 8 hours in Kona has always been a dream. Can't believe it is reality. Sebi Keenley as well, he had a really great race and ran a similar run actually. He did a 2:49.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant run by him. And it's just a shame that he didn't get off the bike next to Tim O'Donnell, because the two of them looked like they ran pretty much identical pace the whole way through.
Yeah.
The gap never really changed. Neither of them faltered, or if they did, they faltered at the same point, and the splits are even all the way through. If those two could have been running side by side, that would have been an epic battle. And who knows, one of them might have exploded the other one.
Yeah. You had Ben Hoffman as well chasing hard. He ran a 2:43 to come home in fourth. Cam Worth.
Superb run from him.
Cam Worth didn't do his 2:45 from Italy, but he did do a 2:55 and he finished in fifth. I was expecting him to sort of bridge up to Frodeno, but he didn't. And I think that, or he and Keener in the massive train didn't. And I think that again shows how amazing Jan Frodeno is and his bike was.
Yeah. Well, first up, this gives me a great opportunity to eat some humble pie, doesn't it? Because a week ago, I was writing Cam Worth off when he had that amazing race at Italy. I was saying, that's it, his Kona chances are gone and he's going to detonate. I was wrong about that, so I'll happily eat humble pie. I think he's an amazing athlete and really funny. And he did some brilliant interviews in the run-up to it. And I just, like I said before, I love this guy. He's such a great character. And to have him pull out a performance like that, to run 250 off that bike. Again, I was saying he's never performed in the heat and humidity of Kona. I've got to take that back and say he is a contender for the win from this point on. And I think every other pro triathlete is looking around and saying he is a serious winning potential from this point forwards. What it does show is the pattern from previous years where the sort of the inverted commas, the train rides through with 6 or 8 guys taking turns riding legally and pulling on the front. They were doing exactly the same this year. We'll hear from Joe Skipper. He said, that was the hardest bike I've ever done. Wow. We all absolutely smashed each other and the gap just didn't come down to those front 3. What we saw was a race where we had 3 guys on the front who were equally strong and equally smashing themselves, and it just became a war of attrition. So for Cam Worth to run
255,
for him to run 250, 255 off that, absolutely brilliant, because it wasn't like he was riding within himself.
No.
I think 4:14 in these conditions is the equivalent of his bike ride last year. So it's just brilliant from him.
It's gone up a notch. And then, Rob, obviously we're going to hear loads from Joe, but what a performance. What a performance. And he got that blooming flat just towards the end.
Yeah.
What a nightmare.
So gutted for Joe. He got a slow puncture and he was going to try and ride it in with 15k to go. We'll hear him say this later on. And then with 10k to go, it went completely flat and he was on the rim. So he said the neutral service was right there. They changed it really quickly. But, the guys were gone. And that's where that minute came from. If he'd have come out of transition on the shoulder of that group again, he's running with people who are pulling him along.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Honestly.
So amazing performance from him. Great to see him go from 7th last year to 6th this.
Yeah.
A couple more years and we'll have him on the podium, and I'm sure he's a future winner. No question in my mind. He's shown absolutely the maturity to be able to go out and, deliver that brilliantly paced run, not go mental on the run. Future winner.
Love it. Heard it here. You heard it here. So he did a 2:53. Ali Brownlee afterwards said, what a race. Obviously his first Kona. My day couldn't have gone much better until I punctured at Harvey. By halfway through the run, I had nothing left, and it took everything I've got to put one foot in front of the other. Not finishing wasn't an option.
Love it.
So,
what a way to finish it. Let's not forget that was his first Ironman.
First full Ironman, correct? Yeah.
The swim was cancelled at Cork, so for him, he was joking in the run up to it, and I'm sure he was there to win because that's the kind of competitive attitude he's got. But hats off to him for toughen it out.
And
on
I
the
think
run.
so he in the end he did a 3:13, which for him would be way off. It's way off what he could do.
It's 30 minutes slower than his run at Cork, isn't it?
And I really do think that's when it must just be all those demons in your head are just going, just quit. Just quit.
It's hot. It's unpleasant. You look at his mile splits here from about the 18-mile point. 9:53 a mile, 8:20 a mile, 8:30 a mile, 8:50 a mile. I bet Ali Brownlee hasn't run an 8:50 mile in his life. So to tough that out in that, because we know the heat and humidity has always been an extra challenge. So just brilliant.
Yeah.
He'll be back.
Another person, Rob, who you can just tell who didn't quit and just carried on, Meredith Kessler.
Go on.
Oh, she did in the end. I'm just right. So she finished 33rd with a 4:57 marathon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 11:27 she finished in.
Hats off.
Seriously, hats off.
Tough
Because that would have been walking, I think, from halfway.
Yeah.
So
hats off to anyone who goes there in the pro race and gets himself to the finish line rather than dropping out. I think that's the way to respect the race and the event, isn't it? I think any other race of the year, if you're having a terrible race as a pro, bin it and save the race for another time. But Kona, get to the finish line.
I think it just shows so much respect for everyone else who is out there and pushing on, battling away, doesn't it?
Yeah, it totally does. All right, so let's talk age group racing as well, because there's some amazing performances here. So on the male side, there was a win for Sergio Marquez in 8:35 to take the age group win, and he ran a 2:53 Hells.
Honestly.
So Sergio is a guy I met years ago. He has been pro for years. He's back to racing age group now. I met him out in Nice when I raced Nice in 2012. Really lovely guy. Had a really nice chat with him the day before at the swim, and him and his girlfriend were racing pro, but they were very much living the kind of like the backpacker lifestyle and funding it by prize money and stuff. So awesome to see him go out and do that. That's an incredible run, isn't it, for an age grouper?
Yeah, and a 4:37 bike.
Yeah, really amazing.
Wow.
Other notables in the male race, we had Brit Aaron Thomas finish 5th overall, won his age group in 8:47, and also Neil Eddy finished 2nd in the male 30 and was 8th age grouper overall in 8:49. He swam 51:55 Hells.
Nice work, Neil.
So would have had him comfortably out in the second pack of pros. So top work there.
It's just inspiring, isn't it?
It's incredible. So we have an interview with him, don't we, back in the day? Search the archives and go back and listen to him.
Yes.
He's a great character.
Yeah.
Over on the female side, let's have a little look at the female race here. I thought I had the overall female race winner written down, and I don't.
Yeah, you do.
Quickly find them, Hells. Do I?
Yeah.
Where am I looking?
Yeah, you do. It's right there.
Oh, Ruth Purbrook takes the overall.
You know who that is.
My eyes have gone crossed. Ruth Purbrook wins the overall age group race in 9:20, so that's 14 minutes ahead of the nearest competition. She dialed out a 3:17 run, and I think I worked out it would have put her 16th in the pro race.
I looked at that as well. Yes. Amazing.
So for someone who is properly working full-time bonkers hours I think she's a lawyer, isn't she?
Works in finance banking.
Banking. Yep. There we go. So well done.
Yeah.
Great to see that overall win.
I'm pretty sure, Rob, that I am pretty sure I've read she's actually taken a sabbatical in January and she is going to be racing pro next season. I'm pretty sure.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So it'll be really exciting to see what she can do.
What difference
I think with a bit more sleep, to be honest.
Yeah. Not doing a 60-hour work week.
Yeah.
It's probably got to help, hasn't it?
I think so. Honestly, with a bit more sleep and a bit more recovery, that will be very interesting.
Cool stuff. Now, other notables here. We had Brit Laura Addy win the 18 to 24 age group. She's coached by Lucy Charles Barkley. And there was a really nice tweet by her afterwards. So dead nice to see Lucy with her coach hat on as well as her athlete hat on. That's got to be a tough thing to do when you're racing for the win at Kona.
Yeah.
And Jill Fullen takes the female 55 category. So
What a legend.
brilliant. If you haven't heard her story, you've got a great interview with her in the archives, haven't you?
Yes, there is one from Outlaw to Outlaw Half, and then didn't you interview her ages ago, Rob?
Yeah, we've had her on a couple of times, and for listeners who don't know the story, Jill's recovered cancer survivor. So
it's absolutely remarkable, really, really.
Absolutely brilliant.
And she's such an inspiring woman as well.
She sure is.
And never
Awesome.
and you know, she's really not the best swimmer at all. She did a 1:15 swim.
Yeah.
And still brought it home.
She's ridden by a lot of people.
Yes, exactly. Ridden and she'll have ridden and she'll have run past a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Brilliant stuff. All right then. So,
Rob. She won the age group by 27 minutes. Remarkable.
Amazing stuff. Right, so we're going to go to this week's interviews of the week. There's a lot to get through here, guys, so there's probably enough to fuel your long run and 2 turbo sessions. I got a bit excited and went a bit bonkers and contacted pretty much everybody I knew out there, and anyone who got back to us with a yes, we'll do it, we got on the show. So first up, we're going to have an interview for you with Joe Skipper. He really kindly, I just happened to be on the laptop and I'd sent him a message, and he got back to me, and he must have been up at 6:30 in the morning after race day. And he said, "I'm awake now if you're there on Skype, Rob." So we literally jumped on. You can hear him yawning, bless him, he's still in bed.
Right.
So interview with Joe, and then we've got a whole host of age groupers. Like I said earlier on, some of these guys I've trained with in the past, some of them I've raced with, some of them I know from old. So we've got Lewis Eccleston, who took 3rd in the male 25 category, and Lewis went 8:57, which was 45 minutes faster than his race 2 years ago, Hells. I know, right?
God.
And then 2 training partners, Tom Rigby and Dana McParland, who are friends together, train together, race together, haven't raced each other this year. And we've got interviews with all of these guys before the race and after the race. And their race ended up playing out that they actually got out of the water next to each other. They went back and forth on the bike, and they went back and forth on the run and saw each other loads. So it's great to hear their before race rivalry and after race catch up. And then you've also got an interview with female age grouper Mel Hayes as well.
Yeah, Mel Hayes did a 12 hours and 12 minutes, and it was her first time out in Kona. She said she's probably never going to go back. She can't afford it. But yeah, she was just a different perspective. I think it's nice to sort of like mix it all up, and it's cool to hear her side of it as well.
All right, cool stuff. Right, we'll kick this off with Joe, and then we're just going to run through our age group interviews back to back. All right, Joe Skipper, congratulations, mate. 6th place in Kona. I bet you're feeling pretty good this morning, right?
Yeah, pleased it's out the way.
Pleased it's over and done with.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough day out, this one.
Oh, I'll tell you what, mate. I want to hear all about it. I was sat glued to the coverage yesterday. It looked like it was one of the best races of recent times. And you had an absolute stonker of a race, it's got to be said. But there's some little things that popped up on social media and stuff today that I've seen around, like the way your race went, and I want to get it from the horse's mouth. So I'm not going to spoil anything by saying what I think happened. Will you talk us through your race?
Yeah, sure. So I got out in the swim in 52 minutes and was in quite a big group. There was I think our group split at some point after the turn. So there was another big group that was only about 30 seconds or so, 20, 30 seconds ahead.
Yeah.
So it was basically, by the time we came out of transition, one big group. And then there was a few guys that ended up swimming 50 minutes something. So they were 2 minutes in front of us.
Got you.
And 2 and a bit minutes behind the lead group. And then I think there was a lead group of about 8 guys, I think, roughly. Something like that.
Yeah, it looked, on the coverage, it looked like there were 5 off the front. There was Anne Berger, Frodeno, Brownlee, Daniel Backergaard, Tim O'Donnell. Oh yeah, maybe a few more actually. Clavel, Braden Curry. Yeah, you're right actually. I'll listen to you. You were in the race. I was just sitting there watching.
Yeah, but you don't have a clue what's going on sometimes when you're in the race, because you just see people like come back, and until you get to the turn, you're not actually entirely sure who's actually up the road.
Well, what's that like, man, when you're out in the water? Because it looks like mayhem. I know there's, like, in inverted commas, only 50 of you, but that's probably much bigger than the standard race start for you pros, isn't it? Have you got a clue what's going on and who's where in the swim start?
You can see people before the start, and you can sometimes tell if you know what numbers they are. So, like, I knew that Cameron Worth was with me because I knew that he was number 11. So I could see it. It is, like, carnage in there. Like, you don't really know what's going on. It's like... but it's quite a good one because the field's quite big, so you get a good draft if you're in the group.
Yeah.
So I think it's an easier swim.
And did it feel pretty easy for you then? Because obviously you came out, your group there was you, Cam Worth, Matt Russell, Lionel Sanders, and I was looking at that going, and everyone was saying as well in the forums and on social media, it's game on the bike at this point with the four of you within a few seconds of each other.
Yeah, it felt quite easy, but you could tell we were moving like quite well because, like certainly to the turn, we were definitely moving well, and then it must have split around then because then the pace did seem like it got easier on the way back. But it feels a lot easier when you're in like 10th place or whatever in the group or in the middle. But then when you try and sit on the front and actually go faster, you know, it feels really hard.
Yeah.
So like the only way you could really go faster would be if the people on the front were like picking the pace up quite a bit, because if I'd have gone to the front, I wouldn't have been able to add anything extra to the pace. It would have just kept the same pace, but I'd have just used loads more energy.
Yeah, totally. Well, it looks like it was a really smart way to swim, and like you said, you've got Cam Worth next to you. You must have been swimming thinking, this is exactly where I need to be. Really, no matter what the time says on the clock, you've got your biker boys around you, haven't you?
Yeah, I did think that. And I knew Lionel was going to do a decent swim anyway, because the practice swim, what we did a week ago, he swam 51 minutes. So I knew he was going to be there or thereabouts, like unless he was just on like an off day, because it's a really good test if you do. And same with Matt Russell. Like I knew that he did the practice swim. I saw him in the group as well, so I knew he was there. But that practice swim's a really good tester of where you're going to be, because you know, if you swim like say around 51, you can see what kind of people you're swimming with. Then you have a good idea that on race day you're probably going to be out the water with them as well.
Yeah. Cool. All right, so you're onto the bike. Talk us through that then, because I was following you in particular, and it looks like the pace was on for the first 25 miles. Is that how it felt? Yeah.
So I came out of transition towards the back, so I had to ride pretty hard for like the first 20 to 30 kilometers to actually get right up to the front, like and overtake like 3 or 4 different groups, because it was like splitting straight away. So I had to go quite hard, and then eventually I caught up with them, and then I slotted in like 3rd place. So there was like Cameron Worth, Keenly, then there was me, and then like there was Sanders before, and I knew that like if I stayed there when we got to like the climb to Harvey, then I'd be in a good position, because I knew they were going to go hard up there, because the forecast had it as like crosswinds.
Yeah.
So I thought it's probably going to split up the climb, so I needed to be in a decent position starting it, so I could just ride hard and not have to close any gaps. So,
well, that's something you've said in previous years, isn't it? When you were riding 10th or 12th wheel, it was like a yo-yo with all concertinaing together and then stretching out. And riding 3rd wheel, was it much more of a steady effort for you? You must have felt much more in control, did you?
Yeah, kind of. But it depends who's on the front anyway. So like when Cameron Worth doesn't really like spike the efforts up the climbs or slow down, he just keeps like a constant hard pace. So it probably wouldn't have mattered if you were 12, but like if the guy who's in like 7th or 8th place starts like getting dropped, and then he goes back, the guy behind is thinking, I need the gap to be big enough before I decide to go round. And then all of a sudden you've got like 150 meter gap to like close. And if they're riding pretty hard up front, you just have to go so hard to actually close the gap and keep with the guys. Whereas if you're in 3rd or 4th place and it does split, you're further enough at the front that no one's going to drop the wheel in front of you. So you're there and you automatically make the split rather than have to bridge across to it.
Yeah. So
it's harder. You're probably riding harder in 4th place, but you put yourself in a better position if it splits. So it depends if you want to take your chances. You know, you could sit in 15th, but then if the guy in like 7th and 8th start getting dropped and no one wants to come around them, all of a sudden you're probably going to end up getting dropped yourself. So it's
yeah, it was it then. I was just going to say at that point, was your experience this year a bit more in control? It sounds from the way you're talking.
Well, it was hard the whole time, to be honest. It was like a lot harder than last year. Last year was a lot easier on the bike, I think.
Yeah.
Whereas this year it definitely felt a lot harder. And then going up the climb was like full gas all the way to Harvey. And that was where it really split. But it was just because we were riding really hard. Like Boris Stein, he was riding really hard. Whenever he got on the front, it was like the pace seemed like it went up like a notch. So I think that was who it was anyway. I think it was him. I don't know what happened to him because I didn't see him on the run. So he must have pulled out at some point. But on the bike, he was like going so hard.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere that he'd pulled out actually.
Maybe he went too hard on the bike.
Maybe.
It's like he was like drilling it.
Did you get any sense of what the time gap was to the group out in front of you?
Yeah, they kept coming with boards and that, so you could see it was like it got to around 2 minutes 20, and then it kind of like stayed there for ages. That was what I saw on there.
Yeah, it certainly seemed to look like that on the tracker. Because what I was expecting to happen was probably what I think a lot of people were expecting to happen was Camworth to go to the front and there'd just be fireworks and him ride to the front group and then maybe ride off the front group. But it looked like what was your perception? Did it feel like he had you've said he rode with like a sustained power. Do you think he was riding to his power numbers and just thought, well, I know what I can do, and if I'm riding to these numbers and the guys don't come back, they don't come back?
No, I don't think he was riding his numbers. He just rides he was riding really hard. Like the guys up front were just riding really hard as well. Like it felt like it was really hard pace the whole time. So I think he was definitely putting the effort in. I think he biked 4 hours 14, and the conditions were slower than what they were last year.
Well, that's the other thing I was going to say, that it's easy to look at the bike times this year and go, well, they're all a good few minutes slower than last year, but everyone's perception was that last year was this really ridiculously fast day, and this year seems like it was back to the mental crazy crosswinds, and people look like they were getting blown all over the road. So the performance of all of you guys riding, 4:14, 4:15, 4:16, I think is staggering. Because if you go back to the days of like Norman Stadler riding 4:20 and those kind of crosswinds, and that was seen as an amazing performance back in the day. Now you've got like that whole bunch of you guys at the front of the race all riding that kind of time.
Yeah, like it was, and there's quite a lot of guys that was like strong cyclists as well that were in the group. So everyone was just able to ride at a hard pace. As long as you're there at this kind of like with the right guys. Because there was that Christian Hugenhaug, he's a really strong cyclist. Who else was there? Like Boris was there on the bike. Then you had, I'm trying to think who else was there? Lionel Sanders, Keenly. So like they're all really good cyclists. So it's really hard to like distance someone like that unless you just try and put in a massive effort up the hill. But then you're just going to blow yourself up after you go over the hill, and the group's probably going to catch you up again. So it's really. It's probably really hard to actually pull away from a group like that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's the thing that came across on the coverage was all of our minds were programmed to think, well, the group's going to bridge up. But you look at those three guys at the front, Jan Alistair and Tim O'Donnell, all riding hard and riding legally, but riding hard together. There's no expectation that there's like someone off the front who's going to blow up. You know what I mean? You've got this super strong front group, haven't you?
The guys up front would probably wanted to stay together for as long as possible if they could all work, because then they all go faster together. Like they wouldn't have wanted it to split up until it was like pretty close, to the run. Obviously if someone had more in the tank then they'd want to put a dig in, but you don't really want to ride the last like 50 miles by yourself, because you're probably just going to cook yourself and you just start fading. Plus having someone else there to focus on helps keep concentration. Even if like you just do like 5-10 minutes each, when it's your turn on the front you can push it hard for 10 minutes, and then you don't have to worry about like what effort you're doing. You just focus on staying roughly with the guy who's in front, so it makes it a lot easier. And you can like get your nutrition in, and when you're not on the front. But
what was your perception of the crosswinds and stuff this year?
They were quite bad going down that climb, going down from Harvey. It was like pretty bad, and then like when you went up, there's like a little climb you have to take before you get onto the Queen K.
Yeah.
Back, and that was like a massive headwind, and that was like, I think it might have been like a cross headwind, and it was really hard going up that. Like you just felt like you were barely moving. Like I was in the smallest gear. Like last year I had a 1x60 on, so my smallest gear was a 60/28. But this year going up that climb, I think I was in either the like 42/25 or 42/28. I think it might have been the 20, something like that. And I was like, 20 k's an hour all the way up it.
Really?
Yeah, like so you lose like that. That's really slow going up that. And then on the when we got back on the Queen K, it was like heading back to town. It was definitely a tailwind for some bits of it, but then there was also like it was coming slightly from the side as well, so you could feel it. So like, and then on the way out, I think there might have been a slight like headwind for bits of it. I don't know. It was like it wasn't much in the morning. The wind wasn't much there, but then it always picks up as the day goes on. And I definitely know it was a crosswind going up and down the climb from Harvey, and then kind of like a cross tailwind back to town. So it was still good conditions, like probably pretty fast, but it just wasn't as fast as last year.
It does sound like it was one of those days where the winds came from all directions all at once, and 5 minutes later it would change and it'd be a headwind and then a tailwind, and no one.
Yeah, it was like it was all over the place. Like even heading back like to town, there were some bits where you were going under 40 kilometers an hour, and then there was like other bits where you'd be like nearly 60 without like just on the flat, just because the wind would change.
Yeah, got you. And talk us through the end of your bike ride then.
Yeah, so like, but I think I might have got a puncher at about 25 k's to go, but it must have like sealed with like a decent amount of like pressure in.
Okay.
Because it felt like it was, but I wasn't sure if it was just like we were on a bit of bumpy road surface, so I was just carrying on riding, which is probably why I was finding it a bit harder at that time, because I wondered like if it was me or like or well, I just thought it might have been me, but then I gradually it got worse. Now about 10 k's to go, I was at the saddle and I could feel it like touch the rim. Luckily there was a motorbike guy there with some wheels on the back, and he noticed it.
Oh, sweet!
Well,
he was right there, was he?
Yeah, he was right there, and he said, "What do you want to do?" And I was on the back of the group still then, and like 10 kilometers, the speed we were going in was like 13 minutes.
Yeah.
14 minutes. So he was like, "What do you want to do?" And I was like, "I'm just going to ride it in on, I'm just going to ride it in. I'm not going to stop." And he said, "All right." But he hung back there, and it was getting worse. And then I just started going off the back of the group then, because it was like quite bad. And I said to him, "Look, I'm just going to have to stop now." So we just quickly stopped, changed it. This is about 8 kilometers to go, 7.5, 8 k's to go, and then got another wheel on, and then like I was back up and going, but I lost the group, and then it was just really hard. When you stop on your bike and then try and start going again, your legs just feel a bit crap, don't they?
Oh yeah.
It was like that. So I just had to kind of cruise it in by myself, and that was like a bit like rubbish, because you could really feel your legs then, and you're like, God, I'm in no man's land, and I've got the marathon to do. I was thinking, God, I don't know how I'm going to get around that.
Did you make it back onto the tail end of the group before T2?
Nah, they were gone. Like they were like a minute into T2, about a minute and a half ahead of me, I think, something like that.
Oh yeah, there you go. Okay, that makes sense. Because I'm having a nose at the tracker, and someone had posted a picture that they saw that you'd flatted, and then so you're about a minute behind at that point. But you're out onto the run in 9th place, and you're about a minute behind that group that's got it was Hogan, Haug, Sanders, Keenley, Brownlee, and Worth all pretty much leaving together. Were you surprised that you caught Ali Brownlee? Or had that not happened at that point? Did you puncture before the group caught Ali Brownlee?
Yeah, I punctured before we caught him.
Right, okay.
So I didn't actually know the group did catch him. Yeah, I knew that like people told me like when I punctured, because there was like Tim Don and that all there, and they said that the front group's completely like exploded. They said everyone's all over the place, but I was just thinking to myself, like, I'm going to struggle to get around the run, here. So I was just thinking, God, like,
really? Did you feel that bad?
Yeah, I did feel like pretty smashed. But I think everyone feels bad because when you saw him like on the turnaround, like no one really looked good. You know, like Keenly looked like he was running quite well, and he looked like pretty good, and Frodeno looked good. But like if you're out in front, you're always going to look pretty good. But then Tim O'Donnell looked good, like. But other than that, pretty much everyone looked like they were struggling.
Everyone looked ragged, didn't they? Everyone.
They looked pretty ragged, yeah.
I think it's like you said, I think everyone's done the bike ride of their lives pretty much, or certainly of the season on that day. And probably in your head is going through your mind like, I don't understand why I feel so ragged because I'm just with everybody else like I always am. But the reality is everyone's produced an incredible ride.
Yeah, and then Keenly, I think he must have run quick the first part of the marathon, but like the first half, but then his second half must have been slower because I saw on the thing he ran 3 minutes quicker than me, but I think he probably put 3 minutes into me in the first half marathon. So I don't know what he did for the last half, but he must have been slow, quite a bit slower for the last half.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I was nosing at the splits earlier on, and you definitely looked like, you know, all the guys at the front end, Jan, Tim, Sebastian Kienle, they all kind of slowed up a bit over the same sort of section. And their splits dropped from like 6:15 or 6:10 a mile down to 6:40 a mile. And yours seemed to be sticking, you know, down in the 6:20s during that section. So I think you ran time into people at that point.
Yeah, that must have been on the way back from the energy lab because I tried to like pick it up there.
Yeah. So how did it feel out on the road then? Who were you behind? Who did you catch? How did the whole run play out?
I just gradually picked a few people off really. One by one. So I picked that Christian Hugenhaug off first. And then who did I pick off next? Boris must have pulled out at some point. And then the next guy was...
It'd have been Philip Courtney maybe at some point you'd have passed.
Oh, that was quite near the end, that was.
Was it?
That was after the energy lab, yeah. That was probably about 5 miles to go. But it might have been Brownlee, to be honest, I think, actually, the next person who I caught. And then Sanders, them two were in the energy lab. And then it was that Philip Courtney. And then I could see, and then obviously Ben Hoffman came past me before he went into the energy lab. And then I could see Cameron Worth in front, and I was getting splits, like saying that I was catching him, and I could see him, but I just couldn't get to him. I got him down to about 40 seconds with 2 kilometres to go, 2 miles to go, but I just couldn't bring any more, and then he ended up pulling about another 20 seconds into me. He must have finished quite strong down Polani in the last bit.
Are you surprised by how well he went, given his race in Italy just 3 weeks ago?
No, I thought he'd go well after that, because I didn't think it would take that much out of him. Like I know on your podcast you were saying that you thought it would it would take a lot out of him, but I thought he'd be quite strong. I didn't think he'd do it if it would take a lot out of him, and you know he's used to racing Grand Tours where you'd race like 21 days back to back. So
I got to eat some humble pie, man. I said at the time I hope I'm wrong, but I think he's blown himself up, and for him to go out and run 2:55 in Kona after 3 weeks ago doing that race, it's absolutely brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, and he didn't have to, like in Italy, he could always take the run as easy as he wanted to because he got off the bike with a big lead, didn't he? So the last half of the run in Italy, it would have been completely up to him how hard he pushed it.
I'm still staggered though that he can run 2:45 and then do this in Kona. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, but if you're doing a long run, you know, you'd run 2 hours anyway, wouldn't you? And the thing is, when you do a race like that 3 weeks out, if you're tapering before the race, it can actually help freshen you up because although the race is actually one big day out, you've taken it easy for a week leading into it, and then you've got to recover from it. Whereas if you don't have a race, some people just train so hard going into Kona that they actually are probably more likely to cook themselves from just not giving their body time to recover and not having any let up in the build up.
Almost like an enforced freshening up period because you're freshening up for another race. Yeah. You guys are just ridiculous, you pros. The level of hammering you guys can give yourselves and bounce back again, it's just, I'd love for you to experience what it's like being a normal person for the day and how tired you get. It's awesome, man.
when you're training like 5 or 6 hours a day, or so, and an Ironman, you're doing it in like, for him, like 7 hours 45, 8 hours. It's not much more than a big day's training, is it? It's like 20% more than you're doing in a day.
You guys are rewriting the rule book, man. I tell you, you're rewriting the rule book. Make it up as you go along, and good on you. So when you got yourself down to the finish then in 6th place, what's your overall assessment of your day?
God, I'm glad that's finished and I'm not doing Florida in 3 weeks. Because I ended Florida and I said to the woman there, like, from Ironman, Heather, because you have to like message her every time you want to do like get an entry into a race. I said, I'm not doing Florida in 3 weeks, and she said, give it a day and see how you feel.
Yeah, ain't happening.
But then actually after about a few hours I was thinking, actually I might give it a go.
Oh, of course, yeah, you maniac. So what was the chat then around the finishing area then? I'd love to know what you guys all talk about when you finally fall across the finish line after building up to this for the whole year.
You know what, I haven't even seen hardly anyone since I finished. Like I saw like the top 3 because they were then getting ready to go into the podium, and I said like congrats, to them, just shook their hand and stuff. And then I haven't seen Cameron Worth. God knows where he went. And I haven't seen Ben Hoffman. Like I went into like the pro lounge bit, because they have like a separate bit where you can get all food and stuff like that. And them two didn't go in there. And some people started filtering in a bit later. And I had a little chat, but I haven't seen those guys since we finished the race. So there wasn't really much of a chat, but you just catch up with some of the other guys. Like I saw Matt Hansen, Starkovich, and Matt Russell. I saw him, had a little chat with him. Like Starkey said that he couldn't start because he felt ill. Matt said he had to stop because he's got a bit of an injury and he felt it when he started running. So he didn't do the race. And then Matt Russell, I said to him, I thought you were going to catch me because I saw him on Alley Drive and I thought it was going to be like last year. And he said, I just didn't have the legs today. And I thought, unlucky. And then, so you saw like a few people like that, but it wasn't, I don't know where some of the others went. Maybe they had to go for like drugs testing or something like that and they got like ushered away.
Left you all alone in the pro lounge, eh?
Well, Laura was there, so, and you want to see your family and stuff anyway, don't you, after you finish? So Mum and Dad were there anyway, so, just had some food and then kind of went back home after, like, seeing a few people.
So last year 9th, this year 6th. It's looking good for the podium next year.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, 7th last year, 6th this year.
Oh, was it 7th last year? Sorry, mate, I got all mixed up.
That's all right. So if it keeps going like that, in about 5 years' time, I'll be on the top step.
Love it. Great stuff, man.
Put your money on me in 2024.
You better be quicker than that. I've had my money on you every year for about the last 6 years, dude. About time you win something and win me some cash back.
I know.
All right, mate. Listen, we're gonna leave you and let you go back to bed and get another cup of coffee because it's what time is it over there? Is it about 7:30 in the morning still?
Yeah, but it's probably the best night's sleep I've ever had after an Ironman.
Was it really?
Yeah, literally. Had an early night. Went to bed at probably 9:45. Woke up at like just gone at 6:15. Slept right through. You never normally get that, do you? Normally after an Ironman, I'm up at about 1 o'clock. And just can't get back to sleep. So I feel so much better than what I do normally the day after an Ironman.
Oh, maybe that's your body telling you need to go to Florida, hey?
Yeah, and that's after a gram of caffeine as well.
I love that you take it in grams. That's quality. All right, listen, mate. You are a true gentleman and professional to be on Skype doing an interview at 7:30 in the morning after the Ironman World Championships. Absolutely, congratulations! It's brilliant to see you race. It's great to see you gradually climbing up one step of the ladder every year, mate, and keep it going. We'll have you on that podium in the top step before you know it.
Cheers. Thanks, mate.
All right, so we've got Dan McParland on the line. Dan, you are in Hawaii. And just before we started recording, he opened the doors to the condo, and we heard the sound of crashing waves in the background. Go on, give us a little recording. Yeah, go on.
So this is what I wake up to every morning, this sound, and obviously the view, crashing waves. You can't quite beat it. It does beat Lancashire a little. It's just a touch.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
mate.
it's amazing out here. The sun's shining, and there's Iron Man Central everywhere.
Well, all right. So tell us a little bit about it then. How long have you been there at the moment?
So what are we on? We're on Monday now. I've been out here just over a week. So I came out here 7 years ago and found that coming out 2 weeks in advance was really good for me to acclimatise to the heat. I struggle a bit in the heat, certainly for the first few days, and it takes me about a week to really get into it and really start to sort of feel my fitness that's there in cooler temperatures. So yeah, I thought I'd get out here 2 weeks in advance again and just relax and do my last training out here. And plus, it's just a really nice place to have a holiday as well. You know, it's Hawaii, isn't it?
Yeah.
Some kids' paradise.
So, for, everyone's sitting here and wondering what it actually feels like to train out there in the weather conditions. How hot is it? How humid is it? How windy has it been? What's it been like in the last week you've been there?
So it's usually like low 30s, but that's not the what makes it so difficult. It's usually the humidity is about 90%, and for the first few days, it's you think how is this possible to race? It's it feels like it's going to be a death march. So I did a good long ride out to close to Harvey and back, and I was coming back at like 150 watts, absolutely broken, thinking this is not good, you know. As it's how it happened last time as well. And then I did a 12-mile jog into the energy lab, and it really was a jog. You know, my heart rate was sky high, and I was running a lot slower, 90 seconds a mile slower than I would back home. And that was the first couple of days. And oh god, yeah, that day I went up to Harvey, the crosswinds were intense. They were stronger than I've ever experienced them out here. I mean, I had a really tough windy day in 2012 when I was here last, but nothing like it was the other day. It was the same day. I don't know if you've seen the Talbot Cox video that Lionel Sanders got in the car in the crosswind. So it was that day. So as I was coming down, I saw Alistair Brownlee coming up. This is what's cool about Hawaii. You see people like this all the time. It's amazing. And I saw him get blown across the road, and I thought, well, I'm all right. I'm still upright. If Alistair's getting blown across the road, you know, at least we're all struggling.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was just watching that video earlier today, and Lionel's there with 90mm front wheel on, and you can see him leaning into the wind at about 25 degrees into the wind, can't you? And him saying, I need the new front wheel. I just can't ride it.
Yeah, so when you're training, because you ride on the hard shoulder and there's traffic obviously now, so it was a little, it's a bit worrying at times because it does catch you. On race day, I'd love wins like that. I'd absolutely love it because you've got more room. You just got to watch out for other cyclists, and it just make it tough, really, really tough.
That's an interesting question, isn't it? Is that really what you're after? Is that you sort of thinking you really want to experience it? Because obviously last year was it. In fact, the last few years, but last year in particular, the wins have just been absent on race day, haven't they? And last year, everyone went so quick, and people were saying, "Well, don't really see what the big deal is out here. It's people are riding 405 on the bike, and it's incredible." Is what you really want one of those really crazy, insane nuclear wind days?
Definitely. I mean, I think from two aspects, really. I'm a massive fan of the sport, and I love the pro race, but I love the pro race when it's last year. I feel like it's a runner's race.
Yeah.
Whereas I like to see the bikers do the damage. The Cameron Worths and the Lionel Sanders, that kind of thing. So from that aspect, it'd be great. Also, personally, I'm a bit more of an all-rounder. I'm okay at running, but I'm okay at biking too. So I think being a bigger athlete as well, it would really suit me as well. So from two aspects, really, I'd love to have a really bad day. And back in 2012, I had a tough day. It was the year Pete Jacobs won, and he won in 8:19, which is a good almost half an hour slower than last year. And that just goes to show, the winds can add half an hour to the best.
Yeah.
So I'd love one of those days, but whatever it throws, I'm just happy to be here. It's a great place to be.
I saw a tweet by Alan Cousins the other day that he was looking at the heat and humidity projection and saying, although they can never be sure, but it's projecting it to be hot and extremely humid for race day as well. And he's done some maths and said, look, people are going to have to run slower just to deal with the heat stress if the weather's going to be like this. And it does seem to be the hotter and more humid days tend to be the days that get those big crosswinds as well. So you could get the full caboodle. Yeah.
Well, they say there's an old saying, isn't there, about this race, that they say you have to give 10% of your fitness to the island. It's like a sacrifice to the Polynesian gods or something. But when you first get out here, it feels like you have to give 50% of your fitness, and they still want more. But one of those days, I just think it would be really good. So I saw Joe Skipper actually the other day, and he was saying, if the swim breaks up, that'd be good. If it's windy, that'd be good. Just an all-out kind of, really hard race where there's just bodies everywhere.
War of attrition.
Yeah. Let's have one of those days.
I do. I think you'll see different athletes come through if you have a day like that, because there are going to be some athletes who do really well in the heat, and there's others who really particularly won't do. Interesting times, hey?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So how do you go about dealing with the heat and humidity then? Because you and I were very similar. We've clearly got a bit of Irish heritage in us, haven't we? Fair skin, red hair. Yeah. Like the old joke about me used to be, it would take me 2 weeks in the sun to go white. I start off blue when I take my shirt off. So
I know. So I'm getting more freckles.
Good lad.
I'd love to call it a tan, but that would be lying. So how do I go about dealing with it? So I get out here early, as I mentioned. I'm 7 days in, and I'm down 3 bottles of sun cream already, and I've tried to get leaner than ever, really. So I've tried to lose a lot of weight, and also I've been trying to train my easy sessions while I've been out here in the hottest part of the day. So I've done an easy run, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon down into the energy lab, and any easy session, I just say, right, well, I'll back off the pace and I'll just jog. And it's just about being out there in that heat and getting used to it.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's all about preparing for the environment rather than preparing for the fitness challenge, isn't it?
It is, yeah, because the way I see it, the fitness is there. I've trained hard and trained well in summer, and I've come here 2 weeks in advance, and my fitness isn't going to change. It's, I've done a few decent sessions out here, but it's just about maintaining what I've got and hopefully adapting to the environment as best as a ginger man from Lancashire can possibly. That's the other thing. I'm heavy. I'm heavier than most people as well. I'm a good 75 kilos now, which I'm not moaning. That's just the way it is. I'm sure Jan Frodeno's 6'4", and well, look what he can do. So there's no excuses. Anyone can do it.
You're a big unit, and there's a lot of power in that unit as well.
All right, Rob.
In a good way, mate. In a powerful, muscular, big unit way is what I mean.
Yeah.
How has the overall experience been of being out in Kona? And I mean, you alluded to this a little bit before with like, oh, there goes Ali Brownlee going the other direction. Does it really sink in?
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. It's it's really busy. So certainly in the last few days, the expo's gone up. The athlete villages, there's about 4 of them now, whereas there used to only be 1. They've all gone up, and there's so many people. You can't go along a Leahy Drive for more than 50 meters without a runner or a rider coming past. So I was down at the pier this morning. I didn't actually swim myself, but I met some of my friends who are out here, and they were swimming. And just while I was sat there waiting for them to swim, I saw Mark Allen, I saw Sebastian Kienle, Sarah True, and I don't go up to many because in my mind it's their most important week of the year. you know, it's their livelihood. So I would never go up and go for a photo or anything like that.
Right.
But it's pretty cool seeing them and looking at them and thinking, man, they look fit. You know, they look good, and they're but they do just look like. To be honest, actually, a lot of the age groupers look the same. Everyone's pretty shredded out here.
Yes, and you've got like 2,000 of the fittest, most shredded people on the planet.
Yeah,
all within a square mile.
Yeah. So it's kind of sometimes quite hard to pick out the pros, but it was also good that they do the Hawala Ironman training swim, which was yesterday, which I did, and you know, Alistair Brownlee won that. And Josh Amberger came out on his feet, and that was really good. I watched the videos of that, and even the content producers now are getting quite famous. You know, you recognise people like Talbot Cox and the people filming. You actually, when you're riding along the Queen K, you look out for cars that stopped and people jumping out with the camera, and you think, right, who's filming? Who's going to come flashing past on the bike? And so that's what I tend to look out for now.
Nice.
But no, it's really cool. It's really, really cool. Especially if you're a big geek, a big fan of the sport like I am.
Awesome stuff, man. How did you get on in the swim?
It's not bad. So I'm a 63, which is okay.
Very good,
for
mate.
me.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's I'm not a great swimmer, but
how about non-wetsuit, man? That's good. That's good going.
I would have taken that before. No, that's okay, and I'd be happy enough with that on race day because it was a fairly sort of cruised effort, so that's fine, really.
Nice stuff,
About
man.
expected. And then we did. So I met up with Tom Rigby he's from the same club as me, Tri Preston, and we did a 70-mile ride at broadly Ironman race pace out to Kauai High and back, and it was brilliant. The starting to feel adapted to the heat, and it was a light wind day, so the road to Kauai is so fast. When you know you just tuck up, you don't have to put much power out to go fast. It was just fun yesterday. It was really good.
Magic. So, what are your hopes for race day then? If everything goes perfectly, tell us where your head's at.
I mean, I don't look too much into the time because the wind and the conditions can affect it so much. But I certainly like to go under 9.5 if I could. After I've just said I don't look at the time. But really, I'd like to see if I can execute a good run. So at my qualifying race in Ireland, I really kind of messed up and rode too hard and didn't run very well, and I'd really like to put together a balanced race. And the good thing about being out here is there's nothing. I'm not here to qualify. I'm just here to enjoy it, really. And I'm one of the masses. If I have a good race, I had a good race last time, and overall I was 220th. So if I have a bad race, I'm 500. You know, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, it's about enjoying the day and just trying as hard as I can. But yeah, I'm fit. I'm certainly fit, and I'd like to execute a good marathon. So it's about having confidence that I can ride fast on quite low power numbers out here, and yeah, just being as fresh as I can for the run. That's my aim.
Nice, man. Well, you've alluded there to your qualifying race out in Cork. Let's talk about that a little bit, because obviously Cork was the biblical swim gets cancelled. Everyone's waiting around. And you had I was sitting following you online, and it looked like you were having an absolutely stellar day. How was the whole experience there? There's obviously the whole hullabaloo around Ali Brownlee doing his first full distance race as well.
No, it was brilliant at Cork. So I know they had a bad day in terms of weather and stuff like that, but in terms of, you know, if I'm looking for a race to qualify, it was like the stars aligned. You know, you've got a course which has got terrible road surface, twisty, technical, hills, fast descents, suits kind of an all-round bike rider, and then you've got the weather. So you've got the UK weather, UK and Irish weather, which was just torrential rain all day, cold temperatures. It's like if you set a race up for me to qualify, that's the one. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I rode too hard. Yeah.
What was the cause of that, do you think?
Say that again, sorry.
What was the cause of riding too hard? Was it just excitement?
Yeah, just being a bit. So it was a rolling start, and the faster age groupers are tend to be the all-world athletes, and they got low numbers, so they all went off at the start. The pros went off at the start, and I was number 1,000, so I was right in the middle of the field, thinking the race is gone. The race is up ahead, and so I don't know. I rode quite hard early on, and basically had to overtake about 1,000 athletes. Yeah, which was quite fun in a way. The roads were closed, but really I should have just time trialed it, been a bit more sensible. But my wattages for the first couple of hours were just insane, really.
Because you rode 5:05, didn't you? So
yeah,
to put it in perspective, Ali Brownlee rode 4:54 that day, so you put the power down, buddy.
yeah. But it was a case of the first half of the ride was very fast, and then the second half was not so fast.
You were hanging on a bit at the end, were you?
Yeah, absolutely. And then starting the marathon, you think, well, that's not what I should have done. But I had a good lead in my age group, and I think I led. I think I was the fastest age group on the day on the bike, so I could tell from where people were that I was well in the slot. So I just had to kind of grind out whatever run that I could, which worked out okay, and I was comfortably qualified.
Yeah.
But I'd just like to, rather than grind it out, I'd like to be able to run, and I've got quite good run fitness, and I'd like to try and show it this time. But yeah, it's a great race. If you're ever considering coming back to the sport, Rob, or anyone else, it's the support in Ireland was incredible for a first time. It reminded me a lot of Ironman Wales.
Really, that's interesting.
Oh yeah, it was amazing. A close, compact town. The run is 4 laps through the town. The supporters were absolutely mad. They're not reserved at all. Not like other places. They have I can't remember the name of the hill, but there's a really steep hill that you go up twice on the bike, and it was a bit like the scenes you get in Roth.
Yeah.
Of the crowd fanning out, and where do you go? It was like that, but at 22%.
Oh, brilliant!
So it was great. You couldn't help but smile.
Yeah.
When you went up it, and then when they see you smile, they go even more insane. It was funny, really good fun race. Definitely go back.
Awesome stuff. Right, well, listen, we are going to catch up with you again after race day and see how things have gone. And
yeah, great.
You just have an awesome time. Enjoy the rest of the week out there. We're recording at the moment on the Monday of race week, so we've got 5 or 6 days left to go yet. We'll be rooting for you on the day. And for the listeners, we'll hopefully hear from you in another few seconds.
That's great. Thanks a lot, Rob. Really appreciate it. Thanks for the support.
Dan, welcome back on the show. Congratulations on a fantastic performance in Kona. Really happy for you. 9:26 finish. Happy with that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, really happy with it. It was a good day out. Fairly hard, but a good swim and a fairly conservative bike, and all I had on the run. Just all I had. So. Yeah, and it was a big improvement on last time, so 20 minutes faster than last time I came out here, and I always look at the overall position because I don't want to class myself as an age grouper just yet. I'm still young enough, I think, so that I'm not a veteran. So yeah, I was 205th overall, and last time I was 220th, so that's to me that's really good.
Yeah, that's great stuff, man. So how was the day in general then? I mean, it looked like, from watching the footage, it looked like the winds were back in with a vengeance this year. Yeah. I mean, there was a bit of swell in the sea. It made you feel a bit seasick towards the end, and then on the bike, it's generally quite easy going out of Kona. You get a bit of a tailwind, and everyone's going really fast. So that's just the kind of time to sort of relax and probably go. I sort of
because there was one big massive line of people, I just kind of to make progress, you've got to be able to find a gap, because the draft busters were all over the place and really aggressive, and which is great, you know, it's how it should be. It was really well policed. I was really pleased with that. So yeah, conservative for the first 30 miles, and then the winds hit sort of by Waikoloa.
Hang on a minute, I want to call you on this. Conservative for the first 30 miles. I'm sitting here looking at your splits, and the average speeds are like through the town, 20 miles an hour, and then it goes 27 miles an hour, 25 miles an hour, 27, 24.
That's a reflection of the tailwind, though. You know, there's honestly just one big line of riders, and at times, you know, everyone's just tapping 30 miles an hour, but I was when there was no gap and I just had to kind of sit 12 meters behind someone, I was pushing less than 200 watts. I was really just soft tapping, thinking it's going to take me 350 to get round, and then I'm going to have to go around someone else. And so it was a case of, if I spotted a gap, I would, you know, maybe spend a little penny there. But yeah, that's just a reflection of the roads are fast, really fast. And it's only when you get to Waikoloa and the crosswinds come, and then the climb to Harvey. And yeah, it was a good Hawaii, a fair day. You know, you had some decent wind up there, and that's when you start making massive progress through the field, because it's kind of a bit easier to kind of, you know, show you. I'm reasonably strong on the bike now, so I started, you know, making a lot of progress then.
Yeah, I would say so, man. 4:45 on the bike. That's a great bike split. Congratulations.
Yeah, it was good, and the pleasing thing was that I made a massive effort to be dead conservative, and the pacing was so even. In fact, it was a lot stronger at the end than it was at the start. I had bags of energy at the end, and coming off the descent to Harvey, I was making up places. I'm generally quite fast, and I think I'm just fatter than most people. I tend to go downhill faster than most.
I should point out to the listeners here, Dan's about 3% body fat.
Hardly. And on the ride back into town, the last sort of 35 miles, I was making up good ground as well. And there's always, you know, it's Kona, everyone's pretty good. So on the way back, there was just loads of people, and you can just keep, you know, setting your sights on someone, catching them, passing them, and at that point, it's nice because everyone's a bit more strung out, and you don't have to be so concentrating on, you know, getting through the zone in the time, because everyone's you kind of got more leeway to get through people. It's a bit easier on the way back. So that was good, and yeah, it was just making up time all the way on the back half, and then I caught up to Tom.
And I was going to ask about this. Yeah, good. So you and Tom saw each other out on the course, did you?
It was really funny. We repassed and passed each other about 4 times.
Brilliant.
So I ended up swimming next to him. At the end of the swim, I saw the sleeves and thought, "Oh no, there's the Tri-Preston sleeves." And
so you were in different age groups, obviously, but did your waves go off together?
Yeah, that's right.
Right, okay.
So 18 to 39 all went off together, the first age group wave, and it was good because there was I think 5 of us before the start, kind of like Northwest lads on tour. You know, we kind of got together at the start, and that was good fun. And yeah, so I saw him in the swim, and then he had a good transition, and I think I rode about a minute or 2 behind him for the first like 70 miles, then caught up a little bit, and then I think we rode together for a bit, and then he clipped off at about 90 miles and put, you know, something like a minute or so into me before T2. And then again on the marathon, I caught him off about 12k just as he turned onto the Queen K.
Okay.
Passed him, and we had a chat, and I got away for a bit, and then he came back up.
Oh, no.
And then he thought, right, I've had enough of you, and he put another, I think it was about 8 or so minutes into me. But it was really good fun having that kind of battle. It did make it extra fun. And there was loads of the Northwest lads out there. There was like Lewis Eccleston did really well. He went under 9, and
yeah,
Brian
we've just had a chat with Lewis. Actually, we've just had a good chat with him. Yeah,
he looked really good on the run when I saw him. Really impressive to go under 9 in Kona. Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
And he was saying I think it was 45 minutes faster than a couple of years ago when he was there. So
wow,
I know, brilliant. Right? What's your experience like as you're running of sort of watching the pro race come in the other direction? Do you get to take much of that in?
Oh God, it's brilliant. So you're riding up to Harvey, and then you see, the media vans and stuff coming down. You think, oh my God, who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? So I kind of sit up and kind of just take it all in. And so I saw Jan Frodeno at the front of a group of 3 and Alistair Brownlee at the back. I couldn't tell who the middle one was, but I think from knowing afterwards it was Tim O'Donnell.
That's right, yeah.
And then I saw, and then just you watch them coming down. I saw Joe Skipper in a good group. Probably, I think it was the second group.
Yeah, that'll be right. Yeah.
And then just as I came back into town, so literally the last few miles of the bike, I saw them running out onto the Queen K. And at the time, there was this other chap with me, and we'd like traded a few turns, sitting 12 meters behind each other. But I kind of sat up and was kind of seeing who it was, and when he went past me, and he just smiled at me. I'm like, I can't help it. It's great, you got Jan Frodeno there, like smashing the best Ironman, probably the best Ironman performance ever.
Yeah.
Finding out what happened afterwards, what he did in those conditions was mind-blowing.
Oh, it's incredible, isn't it? Yeah, it really is. Considering that the step change that's happened last year was this incredibly quick day, and this year was like back to typical tough conditions.
Yeah, it was a fair day.
And he goes under that time. It's just best performance of all time.
Mind-blowing.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, definitely. And and again on the run, you do your 12k ish. I think it's about 12, something like that. On down Alihi, and then you get onto the Queen K, and then you see them all coming back as well. So that's really good because you get a bit more time to actually see them, and they all look like they're hurting. even Jan, I know he's running 2:42, but it looks like he's hurting.
Yeah,
it's just brilliant. I love it out here. I'm a big fan of the sport and of the pros, the proper athletes. It's great to see.
Any takeaways from the day stand out for you?
I'd like to learn how to run. I feel like I came with the intention of trying to execute a really good marathon, and I thought I was super conservative on the bike, but it's still just so hot, and maybe I've just kind of found my limits on the run, but I don't know, maybe if I spend a bit, I'm going to have another go at Ironman, have another couple of goes next year. I think I'm a better runner than, but I've never really executed it as well as maybe I possibly can. I'm not sure.
What do you think? What do you hope you could do on a perfect day? Obviously, you're going to say 2:42, but
yeah, no, faster. So my best is a 3:17 at Bolton, and I've run a 2:47 open marathon.
Yeah,
and I think maybe if I do one in cooler conditions, perhaps I can get down to that 3:15 kind of level. I mean, if I've done a 3:17, then surely on a flat course I could do a 3:15.
Yeah, that's legit on Bolton as well. It's a tough.
So,
it's not a fast run course at all.
No, but it's fun having that kind of challenge. I feel like I've transformed my bike, and let's go away and see if I can transform my run as well. And if I can't, I can't. But I'll have good fun trying.
Good man, love it. Well, listen, we'll have you on again in the future. Next time you're there, we'll have you on and see the progression. Oh man, it's been great to hear your story. Like you say, you're a real sort of fan of the sport, and that comes across when you're talking. I'm so happy for you. You get the chance to be out there and watch the best race of all time happening while you're actually racing.
I know, yeah, it's brilliant, yeah. How many sports do you get that chance?
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right, man, thanks very much for your time.
All right. Thanks, Rob. Cheers, bye.
Right, so Tom Rigby, welcome to the show and congratulations on making it out to Kona. How's the weather treating you out there today?
Yeah, it's very hot, bit different to back at home, but yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. Thanks for having me on.
So how long have you been out there for at the moment, Tom?
We arrived on Saturday, so it's starting to catch up with us a little bit now with the travelling and just getting used to the heat and stuff. But yeah, feeling pretty good. Done a few sessions. Went out on the bike with Dan the other day. Experienced a bit of the course, did the training swim, and so far so good.
Good,
enjoying
man.
it.
So we're recording this Monday of race week, so you've got 4 or 5 days to go at this point. So the first big question is, like, how did you find getting to the island, getting out of the airport, and the weather, the heat, the humidity?
Oh yeah, it's as soon as you step off that plane, it just hits you straight away. It's like, oh my god, we're gonna race in this. But now I've done a few sessions, I feel a bit more confident, and looking forward to it. Obviously, it's going to be a bit different doing a full Ironman in this heat, but we'll just have to see how it pans out on race day.
It's a big shock to the system then, travelling over from sort of October time in Lancashire, riding around in the rain of the last week to get in there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, riding to work in the rain last week, and then coming out here and riding down the Queen K. It's a bit of a different world, but it's really good experience.
And how's your experience been of Kona in general, getting down to the pier and the swims and things like that?
Oh, it's great. It's just a really good buzz about the place. Obviously, like, you start seeing some of the top pros around, and it's just exciting. It just feels like a big adventure for me. So, just enjoying it so far and just trying to soak it all up.
Now, tell us a little bit about your journey to get here to qualify. Which race was it you did to qualify, and how fast did you have to go to get there?
Okay, I did Ironman UK in July. I did just over 10 hours, 38 seconds.
Oh!
So, yeah, but I wasn't too bothered about that. I was just relieved to finish at the end.
It was one of those, was it? Just get me to the finish line.
Yeah, long days out, aren't they?
Yeah, especially at Bolton this year with the way the bike course was.
Oh, yeah, it was brutal. And obviously, because I'm local to Bolton as well, I got to ride the course a lot in practice. But even still, even though I knew what was coming, it was just a tough day out. But I suppose that's how they're supposed to be, isn't it?
Well, it's nice to hear you say that, Tom, because you've got a reputation as being one of the strongest bikers around, certainly in the area, and also with your result on race day, now obviously in the UK as well. Was it 5th overall you finished that day?
Yeah, obviously no pro field though, but I was really happy to get 5th overall.
It's very modest of you to say that there's no pro field. I was talking with one of the guys I coached the other day, and he said he's like on his end of season break, and he was riding around, and he said that Tom Rigby came by me like he was riding a motorbike.
Oh, that must have been in like the first 10 miles then.
This was in training this weekend.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He said he was out.
Right, okay.
He was out for a training ride, and he said you came zooming by. He's local to the area you live, I think. So he was a bit starstruck as you came zooming by. So it must have been one of your last tune-up rides before flying out to Kona.
Give it over. It must have been someone else. It was probably Dan.
And so you made a really big progression then, haven't you? 2019, you swam 59, 5:35 on the bike, and a 3:20 run. Going back to your last Ironman UK in 2015, so 4 or 5 years earlier, you swam 1:15, you biked 5:50, and you ran 3:34. So you've knocked 15 minutes off each of swim, bike, and run, which is super impressive. But in particular, it's super impressive on the swim, because in terms of the percentage of time you've hacked off there, that's massive. Tell us a little bit about how your training has been over that 5-year period.
Right, so I did Ironman UK in 2015, and then the year after, I did a couple of halves. I think I went through that kind of progression that I think a lot of people do. They see the Ironman as the goal, they want to complete it. So I did it, and then I kind of wasn't quite sure what to do with myself after that. So did a couple of halves the following year, and I started doing time trials just as practice for the halves. And then obviously we've got young kids as well, and I started to think, well, maybe I should just concentrate on the time trials, because I was doing half decent on triathlon training. So I thought, you know what, the year after I'm just going to concentrate on that. So that's what I did, and then I got into a bit of road racing, and I'd just biked for 2 years, and I had some really good results. I had good times, but I was always involved with the triathlon scene. Still a member of the club, and I decided, it was just a local triathlon, Horwich Tri. There's a prize of £1,000 for charity for the top team. So, because I was still in the tri club, I thought I'll do that. I kind of got roped into it because it's like the more numbers, the better you've got there, the better chance you have of winning the charity money. So I did Horwich Tri and I managed to win it, and I had literally done no running or swimming. And that's when I kind of thought maybe I should really start thinking about doing triathlon again. So
I'm quite good at this.
Yeah, because I've done Horwich Tri in the past when I was training all 3 disciplines, and I was loads better just because I'd made such an improvement on the bike. Obviously, as you know, like aerodynamics and stuff, I just learned about all through time trialing, all like the little things that I kind of overlooked in the past. And then I was fit enough to get through the run. I mean, it killed me for like a week after because I just wasn't conditioned for it, but I was still fit enough. So I that was like the point where I thought, right, I need to get back into tri, and then before I know it, I'm entering Ironman for the next year and then building up to that. And then I just kind of like backed off on the bike and tried to get my swim up to a level where I was gonna actually be in the race for a start. Because even though I was good on the bike, I mean, if you're coming out the water 15 minutes behind, it's a lot of time to make up, isn't it?
Yeah. So, how much time did you spend in the pool then over that last year building up to Ironman UK? To hack yourself down from 75 to 59 it's like 2 or 3 step changes in performance, isn't it?
Yeah, quite a lot. I mean, I wasn't doing loads of sessions a week, but the sessions I was doing pretty much all over 4K, and just swimming a lot. And because I was swimming with Dan, you've already spoke to, haven't you? So he's a lot better. He was a lot better swimmer than me. So I was just forced to progress to keep up. I mean, there was times when I was just thinking, what am I doing here? I was just getting battered week in, week out. But it obviously paid off in the end, and I've kind of closed the gap to him now on the swim anyway.
Well, Dan has said the same thing. Dan said I helped him with his swimming and he helped me with my biking. I think he feels like he was hanging on to you on the bike. So, although that's probably not your perception, it never is it?
Yeah, it's been a really good to have Dan as a training partner, really, because he's obviously really experienced. He was racing Ironman in crop tops many moons ago when I wasn't even thinking about it. So he's got all that. I think that's accelerated my progression as well, because I've just been training with him. He's got all that experience. So, I've not had to learn things for myself as much. I've just kind of copied what he's done. Nice. And then because we're quite a similar ability across the board now, I think we're pretty similar in everything. So when we do train together, we push each other on quite well.
And then how was your experience at UK this year then, because obviously there was no pro race there, but even if there had been, I mean, I don't want to blow smoke on you, but that was an amazing performance to be 5th overall. Some really super quality athletes there still, and 2 or 3 of the top 3 are guys who have raced or are still racing pro. So you were right up there and in amongst it. What was your experience on race day then of being at the pointy end?
Well, it wasn't all plain sailing. I mean, it was great to start off. I had a good swim. I got out and I was like, saw some of the other guys around me. I came out the transition with Foggy and John Thelwell, and I was like, wow, this is great. I'm exactly where I need to be. Kind of got about my plan, but even being strong on the bike, I got to about 70 miles and just the wheels started to come off. I was like, I'm in unknown territory here. I've been out for so long. Like even the long training sessions I've done, I've not kind of got this far and at this kind of intensity. And I went through a few bad patches and then got onto the run and started cramping up a little bit. I thought, this is not going well at all. And then all of a sudden, just kind of focused on what I need to be doing and kind of got into a rhythm. And then people started coming back to me and it was great. Obviously, being local to that race as well, you get so much support. So there's people all around the course, which was a massive boost to me, kept me going.
And you rounded it out with a 3:20 run, which is very solid on that course. It's a tough old run course, isn't it?
Yeah, Yeah, I was really happy with that, especially off a tough bike where I came in off the bike and I was like, I was pretty much spent. So I'd done it. I probably started off in the worst possible shape. Hopefully, I'll get off the bike a little bit fresher on Saturday and be able to, have a bit fresher legs for the marathon.
Yeah. Well, the added heat stress will doubly punish you, won't it? If you don't,
yeah,
that's for sure.
It. It's a different type of challenge to Bolton. Yeah, equally tough, but it's a bit of a different course completely, isn't it?
How aware are you of the sort of impact that the heat and humidity could have on your racing? Because I can remember landing in Hawaii and like you said, just getting off the plane at the sort of the outdoor airport and going, it just feels life-threatening to be a human in this environment. Like, cover me up and get me out of the sun immediately. The thought of doing any kind of exercise was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So are you still kind of, I know talking to Dan yesterday, he said at first it was insane, and then over a few days you kind of readjust and it becomes the new normal. So whereabouts are you on that sliding scale at the moment?
Well, put it this way, I walked to the supermarket before and I went through a few bad patches just going to the shop. So, yeah, I'm not quite adjusted just yet. But, yeah, hopefully I'll be all right in a few days because, obviously Dan got out here a little bit earlier than me. So he's kind of said how he felt for the first few days. And I think that kind of relates to what I'm feeling. Yeah, I'm not too worried. I know I'm going to have to really respect the conditions on race day, though.
And then just to wrap this up, what are your, if everything goes perfectly on race day, what are your hopes for race day?
I don't know. I just want to have the best race I possibly can. I'm just really happy to be here and soak it all up. I'm still quite new to the Ironman thing, so just soak it all up, enjoy the experience, and if it all goes well, I'll put in a. I'll know when I finish if I'm happy with my performance. I just don't want to get to that finish line thinking, I could have done more or I shouldn't, don't want to have any regrets.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, well, listen, Tom, best of luck to you, and we will catch up with you later on to hear how the race has gone.
Yeah, great chatting with you, Rob. Thank you.
Tom, welcome back. Congratulations, man. A fantastic performance in Kona then. It's great to see things went really well for you. 9:17 on the clock as you crossed the line. How are you feeling today?
A bit sore, a little bit tender, been hobbling around, just been down for an acai bowl, and it's like the Walking Dead around here. Everyone's hobbling about, but yeah, I'm really happy with how it all went.
Talk us through your day.
So the swim, it's iconic, isn't it? Like you get in the water and just the atmosphere is incredible, but the swim, it's the nicest place I've ever swam, but in a mass start, it's absolutely brutal. I say it was mainly self-defense rather than swimming. It's just it just doesn't break up because everyone's such a strong swimmer. It's even with the wave starts, it was just like contact all the way through. But I had a really good swim for myself anyway, so I was quite happy with how the swim went. Got out on the bike and it's a bit more tactical on the bike. A completely different kind of bike course to Bolton, obviously, with the profile and the amount of people on the road. So it was kind of just like picking your moments of when to put the power out. When I first came out here, I thought, looking at the course, I thought, it'd be a really easy one to pace, but you don't end up doing that. It's you have to put like surges in here and there because obviously you end up with big pace lines on the Queen K. So if you just end up like churning down the inside, you're putting out loads of power and you just have loads of people sat on your wheels. So it's kind of like marking the right moves. And then I decided I'd kind of be patient. That was always my plan from the start. Just be as patient as possible, pace myself. And then I got to the climb up to Harvey and thought, right, well, this is the time to put a bit of graft in because you can just make up so much more positions for less power than if you were, smashing down the Queen K. So that's what I did. I was going up to Harvey and then I saw Frodo and Tio and Ali Brownlee coming down the other way with a helicopter ahead. And it's like, just got to pinch yourself. I think, this is amazing. And and then back into T2, that bike went really well. I was happy with it. I didn't feel smashed when I got off the bike and got into a rhythm running, and yeah, you can just see, just tell why it's such a hard marathon. As soon as you get onto that Queen K, it's all right when you're running down LEU Drive and there's all the support and a little bit of shade, and then you get out there and it's just still, and you can just feel the heat. And then especially when you get into that energy lab, it's just, yeah, I've watched it on TV so many times. It was it was kind of good to actually experience it. Well, I didn't feel good, but yeah, to actually know what it's like.
How hard did it feel down in the energy lab as you were running?
It's just, obviously it comes at that point around 16 miles as well, where you just, your legs are pretty much toast anyway. And it's just so still. And it just, everything just feels amplified in there. And it was a great experience. Got back up and got back in, and there's so many fast runners though. It's like it felt like every minute there was someone flying past. But I just had to run my own race, and about mile 25, I didn't think I was going to finish, so I knew I'd paced it about right anyway. Massive relief to cross the line, and I'm glad I left it all out there.
It was one of those tough last miles down Polani, was it?
Yeah. And we got one of the commentators saying, "Oh, it's an easy last mile." I was like, not for me.
So 27th overall in age group, mate. That's brilliant. You closed it. Splits were like, 62 on the swim, 4:45 roughly on the bike, and 3:22 to close out the marathon. And I'm just looking through the results in your age group. It's so deep, isn't it? There's like 10 guys within 5 minutes of you.
Yeah. And, it's one of them. It's just stacked, isn't it? It's World Championships. Like, everyone just looks so strong out there, and I think with me being slightly stronger on the bike and not as good a runner comparatively as some of the other guys in my age group, it's like just watching them fly past me. Like, how the hell do they do that? So at least I've got something to work on.
Now, we just interviewed Dan and just heard from him, and apparently you guys ended up side by side several times during the day as well.
I think we swapped positions about 5 times. It was a proper little ding dong. It was, I'd say it was great, but it was tough because obviously we've trained together all year. We've been similar in training. We've not actually raced each other properly yet, and bumped into him at the end of the swim. And I thought, right, I'll get a bit of a surge on and try and get through transition first. So I did that. And then he caught me up right at the end of the bike, and I thought, oh no, so I put another surge in to get to T2 first. Got out on the run, I thought, that's it. I fancied myself in a foot race. So I set off running, and I thought, right, I've got this now. And then he came steaming past me. He came past like he was doing his own 1:59 attempt. He came flying past me at about 12k, and I just thought, no way. I can't go with that. There's no chance. But I could see I managed to claw it back eventually, and then we were running shoulder to shoulder for a little bit. Just thought, we wouldn't have thought this when we were doing them long winter rides in the rain, thinking we'd be shoulder to shoulder on the Queen K on the Kona Marathon.
Oh, what an amazing experience for two mates and training partners to have, hey?
Yeah, it was great. And I think we both did everything we could, and we're really satisfied with how it went.
What are your takeaways from the event then for people who are going to go out and race Kona in the future? Have you got any quick tips for people?
Just soak it all in and be patient. I think that's the main thing about this race. Just don't get carried away with it. There's so many strong people. It's really easy to go too hard and get carried away. But it is a long day. It's very long. So I'd say patience is what I got told before I started the race, and I think it really helped.
And it sounds like you guys both drank the whole thing in as well, and really enjoyed watching the pro race come in the other direction.
Just because if you're a triathlon fan, there's no better place, is there? You got the world's best, and it's great to see them go at it. And it looked like it was a great pro race as well.
Yeah, that absolutely was. It was a race for the ages, wasn't it? And to be out there racing when it was going on, mate, you must just be delighted.
Yeah. everything I could have wished for and more. It's been a great trip, and topped off with a brilliant race.
Oh, brilliant, mate. Well, listen, thanks very much for your time, buddy. We really appreciate you taking the time to come on and talk to us.
Oh, thanks, Rob. It's great being on. Thanks.
All right, Lewis Eccleston, welcome to the show. Congratulations on making it all the way out to Kona. How have you found it so far since you've been out there?
Yeah, it's going great. I've been here since last Sunday now, so for getting on for a week, and it's going well. I think you think you're quite well acclimatized and ready for it when you get out here, but then you get out here and you start training and your numbers say otherwise. But I'm sort of seeing the opposite now. It's starting to come pretty good.
It started to take a week or so to get around to feeling normal, has it?
Yeah. For the jet lag and the acclimatization. Yeah, but it's coming around pretty nice now.
It looks like the weather's been fairly extreme this last week. I've watched a few videos where people are getting blown all over the road, and has that been your experience this last week?
Yeah, it's crazy because you go out one day, it's a nice day, it's pretty flat, there's no wind, and then you go out the next day and the wind's coming from every single direction, and you see the pictures and stuff on Instagram and Facebook and all over, and it's like, oh yeah, it looks cool to be out there on the Queen K, but actually it's pretty brutal, with the wind and the trucks going by, and yeah, it can change so quickly out there.
That's an interesting point, because I was watching a video the other day, and of course the only time we ever get to see it is race day when the road's closed. When you watch people trying to go out and train, everyone's kind of riding on, it's like the hard shoulder, isn't it, essentially, with cars zooming by.
Yeah. I had, to say on the hard shoulder, I had like 3 punctures within like 3 miles the other day on the descent from Harvey, so at like 30 odd mile an hour, and I managed to pull over pretty quick and stop before I come off.
Oh no.
Yeah.
And what's the scene like in general? Have you I like to ask it this, like, have you been, like, who've you seen zooming around you at the as you've been out riding and training?
Yeah. So you pretty much see everybody. They stand out, the pros. They're usually flying along, making it look dead easy. But yeah, they're dead approachable. You can go speak to them, ask some questions, and they'll talk to you. I've been watching the interviews this morning with Breakfast with Bob, and that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But we was also out at the Zwift house last night.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, they've got a great setup there. They've got the Zwift bikes, the treadmill set up, put a bit of a buffet on and things like that. And they had like Craig Alexander, Mark Allen, Sarah True, Tim Don. And it's great just to listen to some of the legends, really, and hear their story on how to do it and how to attack the race. It's pretty good to hear.
Awesome stuff. So talk us through your last year in terms of the races that you've been doing. In fact, before we talk about the races you've been doing, let's talk about the race you've just done, because I've just been chatting with Tom Rigby, and he mentioned after we finished recording, he said, "Did you see the swim that Lewis did in the practice swim?" So you had a decent swim the other day, hey?
It was all right, yeah. It was funny because I was looking at my time before I went in the water, and from last time it was like 1:03. And I thought, I get around about an hour or under, I'll be happy with that. But yeah, I come out with 55:28.
Wow.
But I think, it's just continuous swimming, really. There's no secrets. It's just, every week, 3-4 sessions a week. And I'm really lucky to be able to train with Manchester Tri Club. And there's always great sessions on, great coaches, great people to swim with. And it makes a massive difference. It's not like a drag going to the pool. It's good because there's always these people there to push you, and I think that's what's made the big difference over the last 2 years, taking 8 minutes off my time.
Well, that's awesome, man, because last year you were not last year, in 2017 when you were there, you finished 6th, did you, in age group from memory, is that right?
Yeah, it was 58 seconds off the podium.
Oh, right.
Right, honestly, yeah.
And you've aged up since then, haven't you? In the male 25 category. You've got a few more races under your belt since then as well. So what are your hopes for race day?
Yeah, well, I can hope and wish for what I want, but, it's like you got to go out there and just give it your best in swim, bike and run, and it is what it is on the day. And I'll be honest, the amount of work and preparation and planning that's gone into it for me and Coach Paul and other people is a lot gone into it. And yeah, to be honest, I'd be disappointed if I didn't get on the podium, but wouldn't everyone else, you know what I mean? Yeah, just give it my best shot, see what I can do.
Well, it certainly looks like the conditions are forecast this year to be full on. The people that I look at and respect who know about the island and the conditions are all sort of saying, look, it's going to be really hot, it's going to be extra humid, which it arguably wasn't, and it's also forecast to be super windy with these crazy crosswinds as well. And it looks like from the races that you've excelled at in the past, the hot, hard, tough, hilly courses, the ones that were a war of attrition, really seem to suit you, don't they?
Yeah, well, basically we sat down in January, February, and the main focus was Kona, and we was looking at races to do, and there was with the Heat, there was Texas, but I decided not to go for that one because just the money and travelling, it was quite a lot. And then the closest one was Lanzarote. So you've been out there, you know what it's like.
Absolutely, yeah.
And yeah, the plan we did for Lanzarote, we sort of said we'll use that and then we'll see how it goes. Went pretty well in Lanzarote, and then we'll use it the same. We'll do the same thing for Kona, basically. Start a bit sooner, and so hopefully, fingers crossed, it works.
Well, you run especially. Like you've got more consistent in a kind of year by year basis with your swim and with your bike, but your run looks like it's made a step change this year. You ran 3:02 out in Lanzarote, which was one of the fastest runs of the day, wasn't it? Certainly an age group. The pros were sort of Freddie Van Leerd won it with the 2:54. Yeah. So that run of yours has really come on.
Yeah. I'd like to have been under the 3. I was a bit of a toilet break and what have you. But yeah, like I say, with the swimming, with consistency, it's just the same as the running. I've never been able to really run more than an hour and a half in previous, just because of injuries and things like that. But yeah, over the last year, I've been able to put together some really solid runs, like 2-hour runs and some decent 20-mile runs. And yeah, it's just the consistency in being able to do that week in, week out, which is, I think it's made the difference. Yeah,
definitely. And obviously, it looks like you go pretty well in the heat. If you've done well in Lanzarote and run well in the heat and humidity, that's arguably as close as you're going to get to the conditions for Kona in any other race. That must fill you with at least the hope of confidence that things are going to go well on race day for you.
Yeah, that's the only thing you can go off, really, isn't it? You know, to look at and go, right, could do okay. I've been going out doing rides and runs, and I've been riding at like Ironman power out here in Kona, and my heart rate's been 10, 11, 12 beats below Ironman heart rate. So my power's been up there, but my heart rate's been like well below where it is in an Ironman race. So yeah, it's good signs, really.
Yeah. And you're feeling fresh and ready to go, hey?
Yeah. It's been a long time waiting since the beginning of the season.
I bet it has.
To get to this race. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to it. You know, go through the process now of the race week. It's just, keep it easy, ticking over, and looking forward to it.
How aware are you, so for someone who's like right at the very pointy end of the age group field in Kona, how aware are you of who you're racing when you're actually out there on the course, or is it just a case of athletes are just around you all the time?
Yeah, I'd like to think I'll be at the pointy end on Saturday, but we'll see.
Well, you will be if things go to plan, right?
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know, it's pretty mad, really, because you get on the Queen K and everyone's just absolutely leathering it for the first few mile, and it's just madness. It's like a sportive, to be honest. And then you sort of get to Harvey, about 56 miles, something, 60 mile in.
Yeah.
And because of the climb up there, it's like 18 miles, and then the descent back down, it's windy and it's pretty scary, to be honest. You come back down and it sort of like spreads out a bit, but you're still not, you don't know where you are all you can see is people, and you can see people ahead of you thinking, like, I wish I was up there rather than where I am now. But yeah, you don't really know. There's no one telling you, so you just gotta. Yeah, it's pretty much like a time trial, really. Give your best effort until you get back into town, and then people can hopefully give you a position from the tracker and things like that. Which I've got a lot of supporters here this year, so.
I was going to ask that. Who've you got out there with you this year?
Yeah, so I've got Olivia, my girlfriend, my mum, my brother, someone I work with, and his wife, my auntie, her other half. So yeah,
brilliant.
Big support team.
You've got big team Eccleston out there with you.
Yeah. I've been on my own for the first week, really. So it's been pretty tough. Like it sounds thingy like saying, "Oh, it's been tough out here," because you're in Kona and it's great, but I've been training twice a day. It's like eat in the morning, train, sleep, train, eat, bed. Next day, back on it. But now, hopefully, this week, now leading into the race, can just chill out a bit more.
Yeah, fantastic. Enjoy the experience, hey?
Yeah.
All right, well, listen, thank you very much for joining us, mate. Best of luck for race day. I hope you get some good luck, and I hope it goes really well for you. And we hope to catch up and hear how it's gone later on.
Yeah. Cheers, Rob. Hopefully I've got good news next time I speak to you.
Good stuff. Lewis, congratulations, man. 3rd place in age group in Kona. That is an absolutely amazing performance, buddy. And closing it out with a 3:08 marathon as well. How are you feeling today?
Yeah, a little bit sore. Everyone knows what it's like after the morning after an Ironman. Everyone, everywhere aches.
You're sore generally all over, are you?
Yeah, sore all over, but I couldn't be sat in a better place. I'm sat looking over the balcony at the sea, sweating. Pretty warm.
Love it. So talk us through your race then, man. It seems like things went pretty damn well.
Yeah, I couldn't be happier, really. I just, like I said to you when we spoke the other day, I just wanted to justify my all the work that's gone into the race and come out with a performance that justifies all that. And yeah, really happy. The swim was a little bit slow, I think. You might have seen it looked pretty rough, pretty bouncy.
Yeah,
Don't know how
pretty rolly from there. There's a lot of swell coming in, wasn't there, from the right hand side you were swimming out?
Yeah, it was pretty bouncy. But I think it was different because the wave starts. There weren't as many people to draft off and packs to get in.
Okay.
That was really noticeable. In the age group race like that. But yeah, decent swim, 58 minutes I think it was it?
Yeah, it was.
And yeah, straight out on the bike, got to work, and it's just that the bike course is so tactical, it's difficult you've got to be really careful not to get a penalty because there's just so many people. And just trying to get your heart rate down straight away on the bike, and you're still having to hold back when you're going out, which is pretty frustrating. But I think from experience, I know that it pays off in the long run. And then you've just got to sort of pick your moments on the bike, I think, out here when you can put the power down, like when the temperature drops, when the wind changes direction, when your heart rate drops and things like that, and make the most of it, because it's just too easy to sit in behind a load of people and just sort of get dragged along, if you know what I mean.
Is it a big challenge then? Obviously, people have been saying it's been great having the wave starts because it's opened the road up a lot more, and there don't seem to be those huge packs around. But I guess it has drawbacks in other ways.
Yeah, I think for my age group, because I'm in the front pack of swimmers, and in the front pack, like it's okay because I've not got to overtake too many people. Whereas I think the age group above, like the 40 onwards, they've got loads of people to get through. But I think it works better, to be honest, than last time doing the wave starts. It was still congested on the bike, but it wasn't as bad as it usually was.
And how did you find crosswinds on the bike? It looked like conditions were pretty tough out there.
Yeah, I don't know what they were saying on the commentary, but going up towards Harvey, sort of had quite a big tailwind pushing you up.
Oh, that's interesting.
The wind just changes direction so quickly.
Does it really?
As they start riding up towards Harvey, the last little rise, the wind sort of changed direction. It was a headwind because it just changes so much, the wind up there. You can never tell where it's coming from. But yeah, on the way back down, we had a pretty decent tailwind for a bit, for about 7-10 miles something. And then, yeah, it was just blowing everywhere. It was all over the place. You're sort of watching the people in front of you all the time for where they're moving on the road, because they're just getting blown all over, and it sort of prepares you. You've got to hold on ready for it, because you're like, right, it's going to hit me at that point. But yeah, we dropped down into quite high, and I think that was a pretty thingy part in the race for me, because it got pretty tactical because there weren't many people around, and because I put a 56 on the front on my bike, it was pretty tough climbing up there because there was a really strong headwind. But I made the decision to like sort of push hard and go into the red, which is it's a bit of a risk. But I think you've got to do that sometimes on this course. And I managed to ride away with like a few riders, and I managed to pull away from them. And it's just so helpful to be around riders when you've got such strong headwinds on the way back. It makes a big difference mentally.
And did you have a sense of where you were sort of getting off the bike within your age group? Did you have a sense of how far up you were?
Yeah, so like I knew at the turnarounds I was pretty high up in the age group race. I thought it's all right. And then on the way in, I think I was like 7th in my age group, because I got told, people was telling me where I was. And then, yeah, heading out onto the run, same again. I got told where I was and how far ahead people was. And same again at the turnarounds, you can sort of see where you are position-wise. I was getting told, like, oh, you're so many minutes from the front of your age group race. You're only a few minutes off top 5. And then within, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 miles, something like that, I was in 3rd place on my age group. And I was looking at my heart rate and my pace. And I was like, flipping heck, I'm moving pretty well here. I just need to hold it back again. Because you can't go full pelt, because you just end up blowing up. And I was just patient on the run, held back. I pushed where I could. And it was the same all day, really. I think I was like right on my limit, just pushing hard. And I think you've got to risk it here. You've got to do that, because the competition's so tough. You've got to be on your limit all day and push as hard as you can.
It looks like, and we should mention actually, just having a quick nosy through here, I think you were 19th overall in the age group race, which is really impressive, mate. And 8:57 overall, so breaking 9 hours on the Kona course on a tough day. Again, massive hats off to you. 2 incredible achievements. But I've got to ask you, there's a fella in front of you here who's less than a minute ahead of you, the guy who's finished in 2nd. Did you have a sense where he was as you were, or did you have a battle with him and he got away? What
No.
How did it play out?
I had no idea. I knew he was, when I was on a lead drive, I knew he was like 6 minutes ahead, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to chase him down. And I ran through every single feed station. I didn't stop and walk once. And I was just chasing, picking people off. But yeah, I got to the top of Palani Hill, and I went, because you go from running uphill towards it, and then you start descending down Palani. It's pretty steep, and both hamstrings locked up.
Oh,
I couldn't run, and I was like, oh shit. And I was stretching it out, and I got overtook by a few people. I was pretty happy that they weren't in my age group, but yeah, I just pushed as hard as I could. I was looking at my watch and my pace, and I was getting a little bit slow towards the end, but I just kept telling myself, look, there's absolutely nothing you can do. If you're running to your limit of your heart rate and everything, and you can't run any faster, then it is what it is. You just got to keep pushing hard, and they're going to be hurting just as much as you. So, just keep working hard, and yeah, it's good.
Nice work, mate. It feels
like pretty mad to say, like, oh, I don't know. Was it 17th or 19th? I can't remember.
Hang on, I've got the tracker here.
Overall,
let's go to the overall age group. Here we go. You were 19th overall,
right?
But there was like I don't know, there's like a minute between you and the next 4 guys, something like that. It was really super close. It was probably the fellas who had you on down Palani.
Yeah, there was two of them, yeah. But I couldn't do anything. I ran the last kilometre like an absolute idiot. Like I crapped my pants or something. But yeah, it was like you was asking me about what's it like to be at the front of the race, and I was at the front of the age group race, and it just, I can't believe, like, to say like I was in the top 20 at Kona in the age group, and it's just, yeah, it's mad.
It's amazing.
Can't believe it.
It's an amazing performance, kiddo. It's we all know how hard you've worked for this over the years, mate. I'm really happy for you.
Yeah, you know, it's like from the last time I was there, I took a lot away from the race, and just patient and learn and take on information from everybody. And I took off like, I think it was like 45 minutes from the last time I was here.
That's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, I was like coming into the race, I was like, right, looking over, like, apart from last year, because it was a fast year, I was looking at the times and everything over the last 4 or 5 years, and I thought, like, if I get 9:20 or under, I should be in with a good chance of getting on the podium. And then looking at the results, it was like, was it 10-15 minutes or something between first and fifth, and it wasn't much over 9 hours, 5th place.
Yeah, it was. He was another minute and 30 seconds. No, a few more minutes than that behind you. He did 9:01:30 for 5th place, but that shows how close it was, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's insane. Every age group,
yeah,
is just so close. But I think, yeah, all the Brits and the women and the men, everyone's just done really well. We've done well out here.
Yeah, you said it. Hey, well, so what's the future bring for you now? You're up there on the podium. You've got 3rd. You've knocked 45 minutes off the last time you were here. Is it time to reevaluate what happens next and maybe come back in the hunt for? If you can knock another 45 minutes off next time, you should be in the hunt for the overall pro win.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah. If someone wants to pay me a nice wage when I don't have to work again and I can just train every single day, that'd be great. I can try it, but I don't know. I just enjoying it and train hard and just enjoy training and working and stuff like that. I've not even thought about, like, from January, February, beginning of the year, it's just been every single hour of the day, every training session, every race, and everything's just been focused towards this race, and I've not thought past it. I still don't have any idea what I want to do next year. Just gonna enjoy the podium today, get on there, and yeah, I'll have a think about it. Got plenty of time. Have a few weeks off.
Good man. That's what you need.
Training when I feel like it.
Well, yeah, you've actually.
You know when you want to get back into training.
And it's not yet. It's not the day after the race.
To be honest, though, I feel like I'll go out on a little roll down. I'll drive on my bike. It'd be quite nice.
Hey, do it. You're allowed to. You're on the podium at Kona. You can do what the heck you like, mate. All right, buddy. Listen, thanks very much for taking the time to come on the show. I know it's like early morning in Hawaii still, so you've probably only just woken up. So enjoy the ceremony later on today. Enjoy the podium, and congratulations from all of us, mate.
Cheers, Rob. Thanks for having me on the show. Thanks for your support.
Oh, you're very welcome, pal.
Mel, how are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, actually. My legs feel a lot better than I thought they were going to. My arms are killing me, but that's basically from hanging onto the bike for dear life. With the side winds were incredibly hard. Apparently, I've just had contact with a couple of friends I made out here who did it, and they said they saw a couple of women actually walking down Harvey.
Really?
Yeah, it was so windy. The thing is that, the winds change here really quickly. So, it is possible that the men at the front got completely different conditions to the women at the back. And you can quite often go out into a headwind and come back with a headwind. I mean, that's what makes Hawaii so sort of, different from any other race in the world, really.
Wow. And was it? Yeah. And remind us about your. How did you qualify to get there?
So I qualified at Ironman Wales last year. So over a year ago, so it's been quite a long time to the race. I mean, I did do Challenge Roth in between doing Hawaii, and came second in my age group in Challenge Roth, so that was good. But yeah, so it was a long time ago, and actually quite interestingly, I looked at the times of previous qualifiers who did Wales and what sort of times they did here in Hawaii, and they're almost identical. And actually my time yesterday was only 1 minute slower than my time in Ironman Wales. So doing Ironman Wales is quite a good predictor of your potential time at Hawaii.
Interesting. Slightly different conditions.
Yeah, completely. I mean, that bike course, if you didn't have the wind, is super fast. So if you could get a really, wind-free day, I mean, the road surface, I mean, it's like doing a time trial course, really, going down those roads. The tarmac is really smooth. Not quite so good going up to Harvey, but, you can, if you've got a really calm day, you can see why, people can ride it really fast. But I've no idea how the male winner managed to break the world record yesterday. It's amazing. And
has the whole trip lived up to the hype or expectations?
Yeah, I mean, it's. I got here. When did I arrive? Arrived the Thursday before just over a week before the race, and in order to try and acclimatise a bit. And, I've done some great training rides. I did the training swim the Sunday before. And over the last sort of few days before the race, it was just interesting to see the Ironman machine come in and sort of completely change Kona. So when I arrived, it was, just sort of typically tourist, and there was still, obviously there were triathletes hanging around and doing training. But then, the world seemed to descend on Kona, and the shops, pop-up shops going up everywhere, and just more and more Ironman sort of marketing stuff going up as days went on. I mean, interestingly, we're going to go down again today because I didn't realise this, but World Championships events you can get special sort of merchandise that is only for people who've actually finished the race. So they actually check your number to see if you finished.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I guess we'll go down and the finishing line will probably have disappeared. But yeah, I mean, it's like you get treated like royalty. It's like no other Ironman race I've ever done in my life. So normally, you come into transition and there will be helpers at a lot of Ironman races, but but then when you finish and you come across the line, you get two helpers who take you everywhere and there to, pick up anything for you. And, you do feel like you're being treated really, really, well. As I say, like no other. I mean, normally at any other Ironman race I've finished, I've just crossed the line and then you just kind of potter into the recovery
Go and get a bit of pizza, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas there, I had like two people kind of sort of shepherding me around all the sort of recovery stuff, and can we get you anything, and we're here to help you out and stuff. So that is completely different. And you know what the Americans are like. They're really hyper and everything's you're amazing and stuff. So that's always quite funny.
And were you when you were racing, were you aware of what's going on up the road?
Well, I kept asking people. I kept saying, "Who's winning the the women's race?" Because I wanted to know about Lucy Charles Barkley. And a lot of the time, people didn't seem to know. Eventually, I got someone out on the bike course. Eventually, got someone to say to me that she was 5 minutes ahead. And then when I was out on the run, I kept saying, "Who won the female race? Who won the men's race?" And people didn't really, I've eventually got someone to tell me, but. A lot of people didn't seem to know. I think a lot of the locals just come out for the party, I think.
And did you go back for that midnight party at the finish line?
No, I was absolutely dead on my feet, to be honest, by the time I finished. So I just wanted to get back. I mean, I could barely stand up by the time I finished. So no, I didn't. But yeah, I mean, it probably would have been a nice thing to do. But my friends had come over to support me, and I think it's a long day as a supporter, as you all know, Helen, if you've ever been to support someone. They were up at 4 o'clock in the morning with me. They were outside all day. I think my friend said she she walked about 13 miles just going backwards and forwards. I think, I was very appreciative of the fact that they'd come to support me. So, I just said, look, and they wanted to go home. So I just said, yeah, that's fine. Let's go home.
And when you are out in the Energy Lab or out on the Queen K, compared to, the crowds that you might have in Tenby, how lonely and difficult is that bit? How much are you in your own headspace?
Well, the difference here is that you've got a feed station every mile, just to, with ice and stuff, just to help keep you cold or cool you down anyway. So there is support on the course, but it's generally the volunteers. So there isn't a lot. Once you kind of go out of Kona, there isn't a lot of support. So you are, the volunteers are absolutely amazing, and they're constantly shouting, "Oh, you're awesome! You're doing brilliant! You're fantastic!" So there is kind of support. It's just not support from the general public. So it didn't feel that lonely. And actually, my favourite part of the race was the last sort of 10k of the run, when I was running in the dark along the Queen K, and it was just really quiet, and it was just peaceful, and I just really enjoyed that. And I felt really, really strong, and I was overtaking loads of people at the end, and so I think that would be the memory I go away with most.
Was it? They talk about almost like the magic of the island as well. Do you think that was your time of really feeling that magic?
Yeah, I did, because when I was coming through the Oxygenaddict, the sun was starting to set, so that was really lovely, and there was just a real peacefulness about it. And I was quite pleased that I actually managed to get to race at that time. The advantage of not being right at the pointy end of the field was that I was out there when the sun was setting, and it was getting dark, and it does feel very magical then. But just little things like going out and doing some swim training in the sea, and being, greeted by turtles. And, my last bike check, I went sort of down to the pier, and, there was a pod of dolphins behind me and stuff. So just those, it is a magical place. Definitely.
Is there any part of you that would you love to do it all again next year?
I don't know. I couldn't afford to do it again. Not unless someone sponsors me. Anyway, I think my husband might divorce me. I think your first experience. I came into the race thinking I really want to enjoy this, and not worry about what time I was going to do. Just soak up as much of it as possible. And as I said to you, I was dancing with the people. There was a few sort of stands that had music, and I was high-fiving people and dancing with them and stuff. So everyone would like to come and race a race again, wouldn't they, just to see if they can do better. I've learned never to say never, because I say never and then I end up doing things again, and everyone says, "Oh, we told you so." Never say never. I don't know. Maybe I'll come back in 10 years' time, Helen, when my kids have left home and I've got some money, and come back as a 62-year-old instead.
And smash it totally.
Yeah, smash it then. Yeah, I'm still getting better, so I've still got. My dad always says you've got 15 years of improvement in you. So I only took up triathlon 7 years ago, so still got a few years to improve yet.
That's exactly the attitude we want. So what's on the cards today?
So we're going to go down to the expo and just have a look at the merchandise, because quite often they sell it off cheaper as well at the end of the day after the race. And then I think we're going to go and see the waterfalls. There's apparently some really nice waterfalls. And then later in the week, I don't leave until Wednesday, so on Tuesday we're going to go and swim with dolphins in the sea.
All right, so there's our Kona super special interviews in the bag for you. I hope that's provided you guys and ladies with a load of inspiration for your training. And who knows, maybe there's some of you running around out there who are refocusing on thinking either I am going to try and get myself to Kona next year, I'm going to get myself through my first Ironman next year, I'm going to get myself through my first half iron distance next year, I'm going to do my first triathlon next year. Everybody who's interviewed here has been a beginner who started out somewhere at this point. And after the interview I did with Dan, me and him were reminiscing that Dan said to me, I was running out along the Queen K and saw Skipper coming in the other direction, and we used to swim together at the same Manchester Tri Club session back when he was a student.
Oh my
so
God.
isn't it just great to show how far you can get with hard work and talent and determination?
Yeah, and I think that is what is so true about, all these people. And I think, we've been doing this now for 5 years, haven't we? And some of the people that we are speaking to 5 years on, we spoke to when they were at the very, very beginning. Like, take Lucy, for example, or,
Yeah, do you remember? We saw Lucy, me and you were in there, we blagged our way into the press pen at Bolton back in the early days.
We didn't blag, we had permission to be there, Rob. We had permission to be there.
We had permission, but we definitely... we felt like we had a bit of imposter syndrome going on. That's what I mean at the time.
Didn't.
You didn't know. You had a real job doing it. I was a PE teacher still back then.
No, we had permission. We were fine.
But I remember Lucy Charles Barkley, or Lucy Charles as she was at the time, crossing the line and us looking at each other. And do you remember, there was just like carnage, all these guys lying on the floor.
Yep.
And Lucy just came across the line looking so fresh, and it was like, go and interview her. Go and whoever she is, find out who she is and talk to her.
Yeah. And then, but even, Lewis, we've had on a year and a half ago?
Yep, that's right. We had him on after his first Kona.
Yeah. So, guess who else we had on recently, Rob? Annie Haug.
I started to do a thing where I was looking through and going, we could get all of these interviews again and put them out in the week after Kona, so people don't have to go back in the archives and hunt for them. Because we've got so many.
Sarah Crowley?
We've pretty much everybody, haven't we, on over the years, apart from Jan. But I'd love to get Jan on. I'd love to hear his story.
Yep. Anything. Go back and listen to them. They're quite good.
All right, so before we wrap this up this week, a quick news section. We're going to give a shout out to sponsors Food Cell. Remember, the price of Food Cell was reduced by £5 down to $39.99. It is an awesome top tube nutritional carrier. So if you need to be carrying food and gels on the bike, and let's be honest, we all do when we're racing 70.3 or iron distance racing, it's fantastic that you can get into the Food Cell with one hand. A slider mechanism on the top you can work with one finger. Take out your gel, slide it back closed again with the wrapper put back in afterwards. You've got no worries about littering. You can fit 4 of those big fat gels in it. You can fit 2 big chunks of flapjack. I even carry 2 tubes, 2 CO2s, and all the little tools I need in mine when I'm racing, because it just keeps an air out the wind. It's really aerodynamic, and it's a really clever, natty little solution, and completely waterproof as well. So you can go over to foodcell.co.uk, get yourself one of those and check it out. Right, Hells, I have got a question to go out onto the Oxygenaddict Triathlon Community Facebook page this week.
Okay.
First up, a shout out to say thanks very much to everybody. We had over 50 people give their predictions for who was going to win the male and female races for the podiums. Nobody got it right.
Nobody. We were all. I said we were all going to be proven wrong.
Yeah, it's one of those races, isn't it, where who knows, the favourites can have just a horrible day.
Yeah.
So there we go. But thank you all very much for getting in there and giving your opinions. This week, our question of the week for you, I'm going to put a thread up in there and I want you to give your honest opinions in there. What are your thoughts on athletes who've previously been banned for doping offences being allowed to take part in triathlon? And this is my bugbear, right? And I know it's your bugbear as well, Hells. We're looking here at the age group results from the Ironman World Championships. Winner of the male 45 category is Alexander Vinokourov. Second in the male 50 category is Laurent Jalabert. So first up, Vinokourov has done a 2-year ban for blood doping. Laurent Jalabert was actually never done for taking EPO. He tested positive in a retrospective test from 1998. And although he denies knowledge of it, he definitely tested positive for EPO. So we're seeing these ex-pro cyclists coming through. How do you feel about these ex-convicted dopers? We've even seen some of them in the pro ranks, people who've tested positive, served their sentence and come back. Should we look at it and say they've been caught, they've done the time, they've done the sanction, we welcome them back in? or should there be a ban for life, or have you got another idea about what should happen?
So comment in the Oxygen Addict Triathlon Community Facebook group.
Absolutely. All right, well, we better wrap this up, Hells. It's been a super duper long edition. Thanks very much for listening, everybody. We should be back next week with more news and interviews and inspiration for you. Until next week, a quick shout out to our sponsors, precisionhydration.com and foodsell.co.uk. And until next week, I am Coach Rob Wilby.
I am Helen Murray.
And have a great, safe training and racing week, everybody. And we'll speak to you all again soon. Thanks for listening. See ya.